Thursday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. A beautiful day here yesterday in Nashville. Going to be a beautiful day again here today. Joe Rexrode, what's going on? Welcome back to our fine city here today from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and thanks, to your neck of the woods I love one lane on 65 for a long stretch around 9 p.m. It's awesome.
Real good stuff that we can provide for you up here.
I appreciate that. Got me home a little bit late to watch the really excellent Predators game last night.
Yeah, we'll get more into that coming up into a second because that was a doozy last night. Michelle, what's going on? How are we doing?
Guys, I am feeling great this morning. I fell asleep before the pregame show, so I fell asleep around 7:30, and the weather is just beautiful. So I'm nice and chipper this morning. It's going to be a good day.
So you went to sleep at 7:30 last night?
I went to sleep at 7:30, and I don't know why I don't do it more often.
I think your restfulness and joy is going to bother me today.
That's okay. Hopefully I'll rub some off on you, Joe.
That's what I need. That's exactly what I need.
Well, Joe, I did not go to sleep at 7:30 last night, although I wish I would have. But I stayed up for the entire Preds game last night. You know, it's March, big time of year, important hockey games. You're on TNT, nationally televised game. I stayed up for the game against the Kraken, and that was quite something. First off, I have many takeaways. The number one of which being this: that is an absolutely horrible loss for the Nashville Predators. And anybody today that tries to tell you any differently, do not listen to them. It was a horrible loss for the Nashville Predators last night. The puck execution part of it was really from start to finish in that game. They couldn't get out of their own way from icing the puck in the first period, and there was a lot of things that they just looked off on. They switched up some lines. Tanner Jeannot moved up with Johansson to begin the game. Philip Tomasino moved down in the lineup. You know, as the game went on, they started to switch up lines again. So I don't know what their lineup's going to look like coming up on Saturday against San Jose, but execution-wise with the puck wasn't good. Defensively, especially in the second period there, I don't know what the heck they were doing on defense. It was just totally atrocious, to be honest with you. I mean, there were some switches that they didn't make. You know, a couple of times the defenseman pinched up really for no reason, and then all of a sudden there's 2-on-1s going the other way, and you thought to yourself, okay, well, even with all that in mind, it's 3-3 heading into the third period. You're in a spot where you've not played all that well. The Predators go on the power play in the third period, and it's like, okay, here they go. And immediately a shorthanded goal. Philip Forsberg's loafing back behind the net, gets stripped behind the net, loops around instead of going after the guy that just took the puck from him. And Roman Josi, didn't box out Colin Blackwell and gave him about 5 whacks at the net there for UC Saros. That's the game-winning goal. The Predators had, 2 shots on goal for basically the entire third period until the flurry late. It was just a brutal, atrocious loss last night.
Yeah, that's one of the plays that just – we talk about Josi all the time, praise Josi all the time. Great player. Like, man, hit the guy, right? Is it not that simple? You hit Blackwell, and he does not have a chance to finally poke that game-winning goal in. Like,
drive him into the boards from the center of the ice. Yes,
I felt like, like you said, a lot of bad execution early, but you get the Tomasino goal. And you're I felt like it was like kind of close to the vest kind of game, right? And then you get the separation with Duchesne's first goal. And then it was like, okay, there's the separation. And then just stop playing. Like 2 minutes and 20 seconds of just, wait, how'd that happen? That again? What? Huh? I mean, it's just bad news Bears stuff, man.
Well, I'm listening to the TNT broadcast last night, which, again, I think largely – they do a really good job, but they're sitting there talking about how the Predators with their schedule don't have any legs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they've had multiple days off basically for the last 2 weeks. So I don't buy the not having any legs thing. Although I will say it looked like that in the third period because they were just getting stripped left and right and couldn't get the puck. But yeah, that was just, it was really a brutal loss last night. I think that was the worst loss of the entire season last night. And I know, they've largely played well this year. They've overachieved to some degree, although the standings are getting ready to get to the point, if this continues, where I don't know how much overachieving we're going to be talking about at this point. They've lost 6 of 8 at this point. I mean, this is not a good stretch for the Nashville Predators. And that's a Seattle Kraken team that had lost 7 games in a row. There's no business of you losing to Seattle last night. And now you've dropped 2 of 3 to them this year. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And last week, those 2 huge wins, to me made it sound okay. They figured it out. You put the 4 in a row away. They figured it out. Everything's fine. And like you said, I don't know why with those days, why they would have some huge physical issue in this game. Now, like mentally, emotionally, coming off last week, okay, that's fine. But again, I mean, I feel like that extra time also should help you. You have a chance to practice, reset, and all that stuff. Again, it was like in the middle of a game, and it just looked to me like a team that's like, okay, you get the separation on them, and you're going to be fine. You're going to cruise, and all of a sudden you get smacked in the face, and it's a bad deal. Dallas wins again, so now you're talking about what, a point with Dallas with a game in hand.
Yeah, Dallas is 1 point behind you now, and they've passed you up in points percentage, which means, I mean, obviously you're going to see them again coming down the stretch, but you had at 1 point coming like right out of the break, pretty big lead against Dallas, and it's totally evaporated at this point. Now you're right there in the mix with Edmonton and Anaheim and Vancouver. Winnipeg's technically still in there right there. I mean, you're in a very precarious spot right now if you're the Predators. Yes, you're still technically in the same spot you were yesterday, but the standings are shifting, and this has become a pretty crucial stretch here. Like, you've got to win Saturday, and that sets up a huge week next week when you've got Dallas at home, Anaheim at home. Those are 2 teams that are directly behind you in the standings. St. Louis at home as well, that's in front of you, and then Minnesota. I mean, next week is massive, but forget next week for a second. Like, you got to win San Jose. Like, you can't go through this West Coast road trip and not get any points out of it against 2 teams that are near the bottom of the standings in the West. That's last night's loss. It was just atrocious. 22 shots on goal against the Seattle Kraken. And look, credit to the Kraken. Obviously, they played well in the third period, and a couple former Preds with Calle Yarncroke and Colin Blackwell scoring against them. But
oh yeah, last
night, make no mistake about it, was 100% on what the Preds did not do, more than it was on what the Kraken did do.
Yeah, I mean, again, like they had nothing going. For all the Preds mistakes, everything, the Kraken getting any kind of a moderate shot from the outside on Saros in the first, period plus was like, oh, good job, guys. All right. I mean,
yeah,
they had nothing. They had nothing going. That's what they are. I mean, they are an actual legit expansion team, that is now 17, 34, and 5 and a minus 55 goal differential. There's an expansion team.
Yeah.
Lost twice to them. Pretty wild.
Yeah, it's wild. And I thought last night Philip Forsberg was not good. And he's been really good all year long, obviously. And we've talked so much about him. Last night, to me, was probably his worst game of the year. I didn't think he was very good. And, he still had some looks offensively. Had a good look towards the end of the game, too, when they were trying to tie it up with a quick snapshot that Drieger was there for. But I just thought attention to detail wise last night, not just him, but him specifically stood out to me. That play when you get stripped behind the net like that on the power play, that's not a good look from Philip Forsberg.
No, I mean, it's because I thought the same thing. Like, yeah, they're going to be figure it out. Now they had a nice, to set up that penalty. They had if I recall correctly, they had a good forecheck going, and it's like, okay, you kind of wobble a little bit. This happens, stabilize, retake the lead, and get back to keeping them completely clamped down. And instead, immediately Blackwell comes down. Blackwell's pretty fired up too.
He was
against his old team. And
well,
Yarncroke was he got it going a little bit once they opened it up.
Yeah, he did. No question about it. Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says, tell Joe I'm sorry. Tanner Jeannot didn't get the first goal last night, but he had an opportunity or so. So have a good day, gentlemen. Now, this is a guy that on the text line yesterday, before Pred's Pick to Click even happened, wanted you to take Tanner Jeannot, and you did. He did have at least one good look that I can remember last night, but no dice for Tanner Jeannot last night.
Yep. And it was interesting as so much as we've talked about it. So, the interesting thing with Jeannot and really everything, this seems like one of those games where, okay, what's the lineup change that results from this? Like, is this a game where the head coach, one feels like a little bit of a message could be sent, or also feels like, okay, got to tweak some things. Like, what results from this lineup wise?
Oh, that's a great question. Look, I said this last night, and as the game went on, it became more difficult for me to just single this person out because it was really everybody last night, being honest with you, outside of UC Saros. Like, it's pretty obvious when they've got a defenseman that goes down that Philip Myers and Ben Harper are not good enough. I know Ben Harper wasn't in there last night, and Mark Vorjetsky came back in. But every time I watch Philip Myers out there, I'm just like, geez, man, it's just not good enough. And I said it last night on Twitter. Ben Harper and Philip Myers, to me, are not NHL defensemen. They're just not. And I know some people may disagree with that, and that's fine. When you start talking about seventh and eighth defensemen, I don't think it's really that much of a stretch to say they're not NHL defensemen. But we've talked so much on the show about, what you could do at the deadline if you're David Poile. And, we talked yesterday about Ryan Johansson in that spot. I was kind of surprised to see them break up Tanner Jeannot and put him up there. Now, as the game went on, Jeannot went back down to the Sissons line. So I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to that area. But another area you could take a look at, to me, is a veteran D-man that I don't think would cost that much. Like, it's unrealistic to me to just expect your defense core to remain completely healthy coming down the stretch. And it's pretty obvious to me at this point that when one of them's hurt and Ben Harper or Philip Myers have to play, it's just a pretty steep drop off. I don't think there's any way around it.
Yeah, killer mistake by Myers. Just sloppy, puck management on one of those goals, and I think the second of the goals. But yeah. I still think he's better than Harper.
I agree,
and he made some plays last night, but it's hard to trust him.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. We'll continue the conversation on the Predators. Take more of your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. How concerned are you at this point with the Predators and their performance after the All-Star break? We'll get to that coming up on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Tune in every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Nashville's own Jason Fitz with Jarrett Stillman and company. Fitz started his sports talk career right here on 102.5 The Game, and now he anchors shows for ESPN. Jason Fitz is brought to you by Blood Assurance. Give blood. Give local. Give life.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller is giving away free vacations for you and your family this month. With every purchase of a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems, Hiller is giving you a free week-long vacation. With every purchase of a new tankless water heater, they're going to give you a free weekend vacation. And they're giving you a Visa Rewards card to help pay for gas to get you there. Choose from over 400 Marriott, Wyndham, Hilton, or Hyatt hotel properties. Take advantage of this unbelievable deal while you can. These deals are only available for a limited time, so schedule today. Visit happyhiller.com for all of the details.
Need cash for that home improvement or want to finally be credit card debt free? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto can do it for you, whether you have a VA loan or a conventional loan. They're helping local homeowners convert their home equity into cash with zero closing costs. Willie Donick here. Listen, your home value is up. Let Loan Pronto tap that equity and get you the cash you need. Pay off high interest loans. Start that home remodeling project. Veteran homeowners are really loving this because with a VA loan, you can tap 100% of your home's equity. That's a ton of cash. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They are doing loans with APRs in the twos. And if you call now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call now to see what your options are. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick, and Chase. I started my radio career as an intern right here at ESPN 1025 The Game. Now we're looking for our next great batch of interns. You think that's you? Send your resume to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply today.
Vivid Seats. Your ticket to hold on to your hat, edge of seat sitting, bases loaded, 2 outs, half-court buzzer-beating, 60-yard Hail Marys. Hear that pin dropping? Can they do it? They did! For your team, it was nothing. Get tickets and earn rewards with Vivid Seats. Life happens live.
Interact with Robby and Rexrode. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
John, I know the penalty kill has been, a source of pride for you guys this year for most of the season, but tonight, the way you guys lost this game, I know you handle losses differently and it can accept some more than others, but is it a little harder to accept tonight just because of the way that you guys lost the game?
Well, look what happened on the power play. It goes back to the 2 areas that I talked about. We have a zone entry on the power play. We don't execute. We have an errant pass. They wind up in an odd man rush, and then our attention to detail coming into the zone. We got one guy on the block, 2 guys back. There's a turnover. One guy swings away when he was right on the guy, and then the guy gets 3 whacks at it. So, again, goes back to puck execution. 5-on-5 and on the power play, and our attention to detail when we don't have the puck wasn't where it needed to be.
That was John Hines after the game last night. Not a very happy John Hines after the game last night against the Kraken, or should he have been with the game that the Predators put out there last night. They lose 4-3 in Seattle. That's a bad loss last night for the Nashville Predators, and that's the play that really I think stands out in the game that he's talking about. If you're on the power play, Forsberg's wheeling around the net. Blackwell makes the play, and it's just one of those things where you look back and you say, did we really lose the game on a shorthanded goal when you have a power play in the third period? And that's the other thing, Joe, is they got another power play after that. And I'm not going to say it was just as bad from the first unit because they didn't give up a goal, but they couldn't get anything going on the power play. I mean, they couldn't get the puck. There was a couple opportunities, and I think Seattle is one missed pass away from having basically a 2-on-0 heading into the zone shorthanded. I mean, they were obviously being really aggressive on the penalty kill in the third period last night, and the Predators didn't have an answer for that last night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't get worse than actually giving up the goal, but still, it's like, I don't know. It's like the whole thing just kind of fell apart on them, in that little stretch when, again, the first, 30 minutes of the game or so, it's going probably about exactly as you would expect. I mean, actually listening to, Pete Weber and Hal Gill on our station, and Hal kind of talking about, this is like you go in against a team like this and you want to let's crush them, but you also know that it's just not usually not going to be that simple. They're going to play a kind of a tight game. You have to just kind of, you have to keep it controlled and methodically find those opportunities. And again, that's exactly what happened. And then it's hard to explain what happened after that, after it got to 2-0.
Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. James texting in says, at the beginning of the year, David Poyle called this a competitive rebuild year. The Predators have come back down to earth now, and we're starting to play like a competitive rebuild team. I'm worried that Forsberg may be on the way out if that is indeed what this season amounts to. This is coming from James on the text line.
Every game.
Well, that's what it's going to be from here on out until he signs a contract. That's what it's going to be. I mean, I guess my question for you is, you go through a 4-game losing streak immediately out of the break. You have a huge win, I thought, against Florida. You grind one out against Dallas. I thought at 5-on-5, they played pretty well against Tampa Bay in spurts in that game. Second period, notwithstanding. But in spurts, they played well in that game. And then you come out and you just have a clunker last night. So I don't think it's been like a straight line of things that you're just not happy with if you're the Predators over this stretch. But the fact of the matter remains, you've lost 6 of 8 games coming out of the All-Star break. What's your concern level at this point as they head into a stretch now where they've got 28 games in the next 58 days or whatever it is?
Well, certainly after a game like that, it's got to be above, the middle. I mean, it's again, I thought last week, if you can break it up in different ways, but 6 of 8 is 6 of 8. I thought last week was an overall good week, and it seemed like a stabilizing week. Then you have this stinker. It's every game, lose to San Jose, and it gets a little bit louder of, okay, here's the reality. And now you really wonder about Forsberg. Yeah. Win that game and have a good week next week, and you get back to being in a good position. I mean, it's at least after the San Jose game, there's going to be so many games that it's just going to be a nightly prove yourself and battle for that spot. And I think they've played well enough this year, and for more than just little brief glimpses, that I still think if this team does what it's going to need to do to get to the playoffs, then it's a dangerous team. But it's definitely concerning, some of these mistakes and just inconsistencies right now at this point of the year.
Well, we had talked about, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, right before the break. I went to moneypuck.com, and again, this is not, gospel or anything, but their playoff percentage chances were 95%. They're right around 95% to make the playoffs. And with this stretch that they've gone on after the All-Star break, they've dropped down to 47.3. So you've gone from 95 to 47.3. So now we're talking about, the cushion that you had built up for the playoffs, just getting into playoffs, was a decent sized cushion before the break. And now that's been totally evaporated at this point, in part with how poorly you've played, or at least from the results part of it, how poorly you've played. And in part because Dallas looks like they've started to figure it out a little bit. And we'll see about Anaheim and Vancouver and all that stuff. But Dallas has figured it out. And Edmonton, as inconsistent as Edmonton is, and I know that they're inconsistent, and I don't trust them whatsoever to make any type of playoff run, even though they have 2 of maybe the top 5 players in the league in Draisaitl and McDavid. But they do play in the Pacific, and the Pacific is weaker than the Central is. So the opportunity to collect points, if your team's like Edmonton, I think is there on a more frequent basis than it is with the Predators. So, I'm pretty concerned. It's hard to not come away from a game like last night and be concerned a little bit, but this has now moved from a team that I thought was pretty squarely a playoff team to now I have some real concerns as to whether or not they're going to get in there.
Right. So then now you take that, the nightly, again, you're going to get a chance to, at least you're not going to have too many situations like this where now the Preds have to stew on this loss.
Yeah.
For a couple of days, here's the next one. Here's the next one. And meanwhile, however things go, you've got the negotiations with Forsberg, and the depending on which way it goes, if it goes the wrong way, the way you don't want it to go, then not only do you have less I guess cause to keep him, but then you wonder what that says to him. As the earlier texter said, I mean, I feel like this season has probably brightened his view, just like most people, of like where things are going. But if he all of a sudden you fall out of a playoff spot, do you worry even more about that's not what the negotiations are about? But I'm just saying, do you worry more about then going to the summer? If you fail, if you hold on to him, and then it's easier for him to find grass that's greener on some other side.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate concern. April on Twitter says she's not concerned. They haven't had a chance to get in a groove. Starting next week, they're playing a lot of games, and that will tell us a lot. I feel they do better when they're playing a lot of games. Helps them stay in sync. Not vibing right now. Philip was absolutely atrocious last night. It's coming from April on Twitter.
It was such a optimistic post, April, and then you come with the atrocious. I like that. You're not wrong.
He was not good last night.
Yeah. And again, the Yossi, I mean, Hines said it there without saying who. He's not calling out names, but like the Yossi play to me is bothersome. Like,
yeah,
you're just kind of weakly trying to poke at the puck there, like put a body on somebody. And he does not get that goal.
I know. It was just concerning really all the way around in the third period last night. Now, a positive for the Predators. I think a congratulations is in order to Roman Josi. 500 career points in the NHL. He picked it up on Tomasino's goal last night with a secondary assist. He had another assist in the game on a Duchesne goal as well. So now more than 500 points in the NHL for Roman Josi. That's a big deal.
That's a big number. Not the game that you wanted to happen.
It is not the game that you wanted to happen, and I don't think there's any question about that. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We will get back into the Predators later in the show. Joe Rexrode is fresh off the NFL Combine up in Indianapolis, and it was quite the interesting day in Indianapolis for John Robinson and the Titans. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Save lives and score big with Middle Tennessee's community blood supplier, Blood Assurance. Donate at Blood Assurance locations in Cool Springs, Columbia, Clarksville, or Hermitage between February 21st and March 6th, and you will be entered to win 2 tickets to the Nashville Predators game against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday, March 12th at Bridgestone Arena. Blood Assurance is giving 4 sets of tickets away.
To schedule your appointment, visit bloodassurance.org/schedule. Thank you for being someone's hero.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamonds so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Family. It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like family. And for others, it's your significant other, their golfing buddies, your children, a high school soccer team starting lineup, and oh look, they're all taking you up on the offer to stay for dinner, really testing the limits of that phrase, the more the merrier. But no matter where you call home, Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on home and car insurance. Easier than making 3 frozen pizzas and assorted frozen veggies into a cohesive meal.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Every Wednesday, it's me, Jared Stillman, against Joe Rexrode for Jared versus Joe. Brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment. Visit ParmanTractor.com, your Middle Tennessee link belt and Takauchi dealer.
Hey, Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Pretty good, though, I guess. When you stick to football, I don't know if you get the curve. I mean, easier to hit out of a batting cage when it's just coming straight at you.
Oh, yeah, John Robinson with the jokes yesterday discussing A.J. Brown and his, I guess, potential baseball career out there. A.J. been making some noise lately talking about baseball. Of course, who knows if baseball is ever going to be played again at the major league level. That's a story for another day, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Fun stuff from John Robinson yesterday. We got a lot to sift through on that front. Joe Rexrode was live in person in Indianapolis yesterday for J-Rob, Mike Vrabel, and the Combine for the Titans part of it yesterday. Now, there's all sorts of stuff going on up there. I mean, prospects are being interviewed. Quarterbacks are being interviewed. I saw a variety of different opinions on Malik Willis yesterday from a quarterback standpoint, but John Robinson and Mike Vrabel addressing the media yesterday as well. Joe, I think there's a lot to sift through with those two from yesterday, and we'll do that throughout the show. But I think the one part of yesterday that really generated the most attention was a response from John Robinson on a question from Chris Harris, who we'll have on later in the show at 8 o'clock, about basically, what he could do better, as he's making a list of things that, happened this past season. What are some of those things on the list that he thinks he could do better? And that led to, really, to me, an unexpected and emotional response from John Robinson. Here's what John Robinson had to say yesterday at the NFL Combine.
Last season ended and you had a second to kind of reassess, and you get out your notepad and write down things like, what could I have done better? What's on that list?
Yeah, that's what keeps me up at night, is the trust that ownership has put in me, our fans, and I mean, that stadium was rocking now. And you can only imagine what it would have been like the next week. So, pretty long list of stuff that I got to be better at.
That was John Robinson yesterday at the Combine. And Joe, you were sitting basically right next to John Robinson as this is taking place. What was your reaction to his answer there and how emotional he became with that answer?
Yeah, Michelle, you did cut that down, right?
Oh yeah, it's been cut for sure.
Yeah, that's what
which is
good. Yeah, we
yeah.
didn't we didn't want, but just
Yes.
so people know, like that was, I counted it because I wrote about it today too. But yeah, it was 31 seconds, the initial pause as he tried to compose himself. Yeah, and I mean, look, it's interesting too. Like, after it was done, I told a few of my colleagues about it, and it was like, what, really? It's like, it's just things, don't expect that from a NFL GM. But John Robinson definitely is a hard on the sleeve kind of guy. And I mean, my take was, it was a good illustration of how that loss was received in that building. Not that anyone should be surprised by that, but it's season ends. And you got your pressers, and Vrabel's reaction probably after the game was the emotion of kind of lashing out, right?
Yeah.
Like Like it's very different. But then you just have your season ending stuff and you kind of move on. I think to me, it was a good reminder of just the opportunity that was lost here, and how hard that hit the people who work for this team and are in charge of trying to put it all together. So I thought it was a human moment, and there are not a ton of those.
No,
really, there aren't enough of those probably in the NFL in general, and certainly not the NFL scouting combine. I didn't even know that we were going to do this yesterday, because I guess it normally does happen, but it's been a couple of years. You have your podium time, and then it was like, okay, locals only, come follow John. And so actually he was standing there and he's like, I don't, this is too stiff, this is too stuffy or something like that to Robby Bourne. And I was like, how about go sit in the stands? He's like, let's go. And everybody's like, are you serious? But it actually was that we crowded around him in the stands, and that was surprising. And certainly the question was just sort of, it was a basic question, like what's on your list of, but Chris, the beginning of the question was like, if you had a moment after it ended, and I think that brought him to the, to thinking about it. So I put, of course, I'm sitting there not taking video, and there's this long pause. I'm like, I think I should get video of this. So I turned my phone into a video, put the camera on, a technological whiz.
Were you just going to say you turned your phone into a video? That was what was going to come out of your mouth, wasn't it?
It turned into a picture thingy, moving picture thingy type dealy.
Nice motion picture from Rexrode yesterday, which, as we know, we've talked about several times, award-winning videos from this man.
Once again. Yeah, like if you watch this video, it's like, wait, this is what is going on here? It's like an incomplete answer. But I was like, I got to get some video of this. Put it on Twitter. Seemed like the response was largely like a lot of like, that's my jam,
Yeah.
But look, I mean, if you're a Titans fan, doesn't make you feel any better about like the loss. It probably brings it back up, 2 months after, as you're trying to get over it. But I thought it was a good reminder of just what a bad and crushing loss that was.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, that's kind of the first place my mind went when I saw the video that was put out there. I think Cal Baxter may have been the first one where I saw video from. But there's video all over the place of J-Rob yesterday. And that was my first thought was, man, that Bengals loss is still sticking with him. I mean, the second thought was, well, I mean, this is a good reminder of, I think how much he cares, how much, I think he takes the responsibility of being the general manager of the Titans personally, and the trust that, he talked about it with Amy Adams Strunk. And I think it's pretty clear that this area means a great deal to him as well. Obviously, he's from the state of Tennessee. So there's a lot that kind of goes through the mind there. Now, all that's great. And, I said this yesterday on Twitter. I think J-Rob has largely done a really good job. There are things that are going to have to get better, but I think the thing to keep in mind is he's largely done a really good job. Now, again, seeing the general manager cry yesterday does not make me feel any differently about the loss. Like, it is a missed opportunity, and I go back to the quarterback position and the future of that, and there's still the same issues that the Titans are going to have to figure out as they move forward here. But it was, I guess, a human moment is the way to describe it pretty well yesterday from John Robinson that I did not expect. And to your point, I think that just shows you the Titans know they had a team that could have at least been in a Super Bowl this past year, and it was an opportunity that they just let slip right through their hands. And I think you saw a little bit of that from John Robinson yesterday.
Yeah, no question. And of course, and look, for anybody, I wouldn't know. I don't know if anyone would even go there, but like, this wasn't manufactured, no. Like some kind of like sympathy. I mean, he didn't want to, he didn't want that to be on display, but that has actually, it's interesting. I was talking with some of the other writers, talking to Glennon yesterday. Remember they did the uniform reveal on Broadway, which was pretty cool. And they had a video that accompanied that. And part of it was him being interviewed about like growing up in Tennessee and doing this job. And he actually broke down during that. So, that's kind of who he is. You don't see it a ton, but yesterday also involved and I ended up writing a lot about this because, and I wasn't sure, because I mean, the plenty of statements have been made, but it actually turned into a lot of talk about Ryan Tannehill again, from John Robinson, from Mike Vrabel. And to me, it was noteworthy just in that there was a lot more said, I think. Again, just like this, nothing that's going to change anything, nothing that's going to, make any Titans fan feel better about things, but just a little bit more on the mindset of Tannehill, how things ended, how he's played overall, where things are going, and all that. So that was actually, really right before that exchange with Robinson was a pretty good back and forth on Tannehill, including, and I asked him, like, at any point did you make a call? At any point did you have in your mind? Now look, I fully understand that, a GM could have made 20 calls to try to unload a player. And if he knows the player's coming back next year, he's probably not going to say, yeah, so I called. Here's the teams I called. Yeah. Here's, but
here's the timestamp.
Yeah, right. But the answer was, like, no. So take it for what it is, Titans fans. It is, it has gotten to the point of, like, Ryan Tannehill, public enemy number one. It's like, maybe it's not quite that bad, everybody. But we talked about this back in January, like, over time, it's probably going to, well, I think for some people anyway, you're going to be able to look back a little bit and say, okay, like, he's done more good things than bad. What can you do to be great around him? That's going to be the constant theme this offseason.
Yep. I don't think there's any question about that. We'll take your thoughts on John Robinson's comments yesterday. What did you think of John Robinson's emotional response? We'll also get to some of Joe's thoughts on some other thoughts that Vrabel and J-Rob had yesterday at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. That's coming up on the other side. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Very mild start this morning. Temperatures 40s and 50s. From here, we'll warm back up into the 70s under mostly sunny skies. Storms hold off until Sunday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Customize your ride at Tent World of Goodlettsville's Customer Appreciation Event, Saturday, March 5th. Check out Tent World's vinyl wrap, paint protection film, automotive alarms, car stereos, remote start, ceramic coating, and much more. Plus Tent World's affordable window tinting. Tent World, 500 South Main Street in Goodlettsville. Join Tent World of Goodlettsville for food, fun, and prizes, Saturday, March 5th.
Save lives and score big with Middle Tennessee's community blood supplier, Blood Assurance. Donate at Blood Assurance locations in Cool Springs, Columbia, Clarksville, or Hermitage between February 21st and March 6th, and you will be entered to win 2 tickets to the Nashville Predators game against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday, March 12th at Bridgestone Arena. Blood Assurance is giving 4 sets of tickets away.
To schedule your appointment, visit bloodassurance.org/schedule. Thank you for being someone's hero.
Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like the world is throwing everything it has at you, and to succeed, you need someone to guide you through. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice to help you navigate whatever challenges you're up against and get you safely to where you want to be. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
If you're looking for inspiration and impact this International Women's Day, don't miss the annual Women's Leadership Summit on Tuesday afternoon, March 8th at Ozari Event Center in West Nashville. You'll learn from, connect with, and grow among powerhouse women from diverse fields while building a solid future for girls in our community. The Women's Leadership Summit is powered by Nashville nonprofit Play Like a Girl and includes panel discussions, informal mentoring moments, a very special executive auction, and cocktails. Visit iplaylikeagirl.org or call 615-601-1864.
A show that doesn't pull any punches.
And they win a playoff game and they get to the divisional round and he doesn't give up a sack the rest of the year. I don't give two poops. I'm done.
And has an opinion on everything.
That ref crew that was just terrible. Threw flags on almost every possession.
Jared Stillman hosts Stillman and Company.
Tough guy. He's a really tough guy.
Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6. Delivered by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
There are things that we all evaluate, and when we make mistakes at the end of the game or the end of the season, I think that's what unfortunately what you have to point to. And Ryan's won too many games for us. He's been a part of too many huge victories for us. Done too much for us to use that. Now we have to be better. That's unacceptable. Ryan knows that. He'll tell you that. Can't make some of those mistakes. But there's also, he's not the only one out there making mistakes. I've told you this. It'll never be about one person. I know how critical the quarterback is to the success of the team. But, we'll get back to work. And I'm confident that some of these issues that we had in all three phases will get fixed.
That was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel yesterday at the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis discussing Ryan Tannehill. We'll get to more thoughts on that here in just a second. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. So, Joe, we heard comments there from Mike Vrabel. John Robinson, as you said in the last segment, talked a lot about Ryan Tannehill yesterday as well. What did you make of the conversation on Ryan Tannehill, and what did you make specifically of the way that Vrabel and Robinson addressed him and the quarterback position yesterday?
Well, look, it was I guess it was repetitive to some extent. I guess it was just a little bit more in depth. A few things. One interesting thing I thought out of that, and I kind of went through. Really, I went through and had it basically every word they said in the thing I wrote. But one interesting exchange was Terry McCormick saying, do you go back to 2019 and 2020 to look at like Tannehill at his best? And, Vrabel's like, well, there's a lot of instances from last year. Like, you don't have to go back too far and say, like, this is what we want, but also this is what we don't want. But then Vrabel also brings up, 19 interceptions, which, of course, is the total with regular season and playoff, which is just a huge number. And as Vrabel said, you can't throw 19 interceptions. Both of them sort of had the, Robinson. I think they both brought up there were good moments last year, but Robinson also, to me, maybe I guess you could say amended a little bit, talking about was it the Ben Arthur Q&A? I think that's right, because there was the Ben Arthur Q&A, and then there was also stuff he said at the Senior Bowl. But at one point he said, what we were going to judge on one bad game. And he sort of acknowledged it wasn't just one bad game, but a lot of the same things they also said good about him. Love his leadership, command of the football team. Yeah, I mean, the quote Robinson, he had some bad games last year, which is a little bit more, realistic look at or assessment of Tannehill than, one bad game. It wasn't one bad game. The last bad game, I mean, to me, puts all the stuff that came before it in a different light.
Yeah.
And I think, But a lot of the same stuff that still, I mean, I think people who are totally out on Tannehill are not going to like hearing, like, everybody makes, it wasn't just him and all that stuff. There was other people made mistakes and, I mean, look, he's their quarterback. So there's a certain level of support. Another thing I would push back on a little bit is, Vrabel right there in the clip we listened to, Ryan will tell you that. Well, that's another problem here is that he really didn't.
Yeah.
Which leaves it until whatever, mini camp, I guess, next time he probably talks to revisit it, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, let's get back down there when mini camp comes. Could really get back into this thing. So Ryan, tell me about that loss 6 months ago. But it's going to happen. And look,
it's going to come
up. It should
up.
happen. Yeah, it should happen. I mean, that's the way this works. I thought it was interesting kind of to talk about and hear Robinson talk about, at one point the conversation got into, Tannehill elevating the play of others. And, essentially what John Robinson said in that clip was, we've seen him do it before. And I think he gave an example this year of the San Francisco game and the run he had to get down in position and, some of the plays he made this year. But, he brought up those type of plays getting lost in this kind of year when you have the way that the game ends and the way that the game plays out in Cincinnati. I hear what he's saying there, but also my mind is just like, well, that's great, but you need your quarterback to elevate you in games like Cincinnati. And when that doesn't happen, should that not change your view on what the quarterback is and can be for you moving forward? That's kind of the takeaway I had from that part of the conversation. I understand what Robinson's trying to say there. And look, to me, it became even more clear yesterday that he's going to be the quarterback next year, even though I thought it was pretty clear heading into it. But when he started talking about like the San Francisco game and different points this year where Tannehill elevated their play, I was like, well, that's great. The last time you saw him play and the last few times out in the postseason, he has not done that. And that's where this team, that's the expectation for this team now, is to do some things in the postseason.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's interesting because that was a question, I think, from Kaharski about, okay, but does he have to elevate others? And before he started talking about the San Fran game, he started with, I think we've seen that in years past. We got to get back to that, and then, and then he said, and we saw it some last year, and then he went to the San Francisco. So it's one of those. So he kind of brought it back to 2019 and 2020, right? And then in a different point, McCormick asked Vrabel about that. But yeah, look, no one said, hey, he's the QB. And so you just got to hope for the best, but that's what this is, to a large extent. Yes. It's also the charge of those guys, to try to figure out exactly what the rest of the roster gives you the best chance. But a lot of the next year, and this isn't comforting, I understand it, for Titans fans, is just hoping that Ryan Tannehill rediscovers 2019 and 2020 Ryan Tannehill. Yes, and I agree. Look, he had good games last year. It wasn't all bad, but there was a lot more bad. There was way more bad last year, obviously, than in the first 2 years combined, and it was a lot more like what people thought he was in Miami. So next year you got to support him and you got to put things around him. And then you got to basically at some point just hope that, that 2 years of him, that's if you want to be optimistic, it wasn't like, oh, if you hope you can get back to that 4-game stretch from 2019, or hope you can get back to the back-to-back great games you had in 2020. It was long enough stretch that you would think it would be possible, but then how much is his confidence shaken by how this ended? And how does he handle, he's viewed completely differently, I think, by this fan base and in this city.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that, opening day is going to roll around next year and Ryan Tannehill is going to get booed coming out of the tunnel or anything like that. Like, I think that
fresh off 3 interceptions, Ryan Tannehill. Let's hope he doesn't throw one today.
Although, give me more commentary. I would love it. It's amazing every time that happens. But go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, Joe, why don't you be the announcer next time they have auditions?
Oh, I'm not. I can't do that. I'm good for a very brief little parody. I could never do that. Those people. He's got a booming, beautiful voice.
He does. There's no question about it, and it was on display last year. Good stuff. But like I say that, like, it's not like he's going to get booed out of the tunnel or anything. I think he does have to know, though, that the noise on him is loud. This is also not the first time that he's dealt with this, though. Like the end of his time in Miami, it wasn't the same situation because they had not had any sort of playoff success whatsoever, and they were obviously not winning divisions every year. So it's a different situation here in Tennessee than it was for him in Miami. But he's been through a situation before where he was viewed a certain way, and he came to Tennessee, and he responded really well. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but at least this is not like he's not been through something like this before. I would hope that would help.
Yes. It's interesting too from the fan perspective. I don't recall, Mariota. I mean, the worst Mariota games at the end there before Tannehill took over for him was like the game at Jacksonville and of course the game at Denver, the last one. Just awful, just offensive performances all the way around. And from him, I don't really ever remember the crowd turning on Mariota. I'm sure a smattering of boos here or there. I think next year I could see it's different. This is not Philly. This is not some NFL towns where it's like the first third down and completion you throw, you better brace yourself. You get booed out of the building. But
yeah,
I do wonder if especially early, if you have a slow start, you have some 3 and outs or whatever, like are the boos quick to come out next year?
I mean, they could be. I think some of those might be directed more at Todd Downing than they are Ryan Tannehill, because there's still, I think, a portion of the fan base that is screaming louder at Todd Downing than they are Ryan Tannehill at this point. Not a lot, but I think there's some that exist that way.
But see, what do you do? You try to boo toward the booth?
Yeah, you just
direct
turn your head
upward.
Yeah, maybe that's what you got to do.
I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. There are some, and of course that was another interesting thing yesterday that especially Vrabel got into is the Tim Kelly dynamic.
Yes, absolutely, man.
I was going to say something about it, but I figure we're close to break, so I shouldn't. But
we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that coming up on the other side. I thought some interesting comments on Tim Kelly yesterday from Mike Vrabel. I thought some interesting comments on some players and what their futures could hold as well. We'll get to all that coming up on the other side. Let me tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. The second half of the NBA season is here, and you can turn every Thursday into payday with NBA on TNT on FanDuel Sportsbook. And it doesn't matter if you win or lose, FanDuel is giving all customers $10 back every Thursday in site credit. Just bet a $10 or more same-game parlay on any NBA on TNT game. Same-game parlays let you combine the money line, the point spread, player props, and more all into one wager. You got the Miami Heat taking on the Brooklyn Nets tonight. KD back for the Nets. The Heat coming off a loss last night. I think the Heat get it done on the money line tonight. Give me Tyler Hero over on points as well. But you take it any way you want to take it. And win or lose, you're guaranteed to get $10 added to your account. So if you're new to FanDuel, just sign up with promo code ROB to make every moment more this NBA season. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The voice of reason.
No, you blew it. That's what happened. It didn't slip away. You blew it.
The voice of the fan.
The officials had let that game get out of control before anything got thrown.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
An effective defense often hinges on sophisticated strategies relating to income tax projections, business valuations, spousal support claims. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
The Electronic Express tax refund sale is going on now. Get huge savings in every department, including 4K TVs, mattresses, computers and tablets, housewares, smart home, and more. We have all of your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
Signs First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Bank of England Mortgage has been helping Americans live the dream of home ownership for over 100 years. Since their humble beginnings in England, Arkansas in 1898, they've grown into a nationwide mortgage lender with 141 offices across 45 states, including 3 convenient locations right here in Middle Tennessee. Find out more at BOE1214.com. Bank of England Mortgage is a division of Bank of England Mortgage. Equal housing lender, member FDIC, NMLS 418-481.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
It's Robby and Rexrode with Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. It is March the 3rd, and Joe, today is the 2-year anniversary of the tornadoes that rolled through here a couple of years ago. And I remember you and I doing the show that morning and waking up and kind of seeing the scope of what the damage was. We knew it was bad overnight, but when the sunlight came, we kind of saw the scope of the damage around here in those areas. Just a horrible storm that moved through, deadly storm that moved through. And I know that I will never forget doing the radio show that morning. That was quite something.
Yeah, it really was. And sort of the just growing list of accounts and all of a sudden videos of damage. And yeah, that was a terrible, terrible storm. Fantastic reaction from Nashville. Part of a bit of a turbulent winter.
Yeah, I would say
in the world.
I would say, like, in some ways, it's hard to believe that was 2 years ago, and in other ways, it feels like that was 15 years ago. It really does.
Yeah, that's what it feels. It feels longer than 2 years to me, for sure.
Yeah. So 2 years ago today, the anniversary of the storms rolling through. Coming off of a trip to the NFL Combine yesterday, Joe Rexrode back in Nashville with us. We've discussed some of John Robinson's comments on the loss against Cincinnati and his comments on Mike Vrabel or on Ryan Tannehill as well. One of the things that I was interested to see yesterday, Joe, was whether or not Vrabel gave any sort of explanation or further detail on the hiring of Tim Kelly as the senior offensive assistant / passing game coordinator. And he did. He gave some comments on Tim Kelly yesterday, and I thought some of those comments were interesting. He said multiple times, that he trusts Tim Kelly, that he's not coming in with any sort of agenda like that. They talked about the Jim Schwartz situation, lots of things that Vrabel talked about yesterday about Tim Kelly. What stood out to you about his response about Tim Kelly, and do you view the Tim Kelly hiring any differently now that you heard Vrabel talk about it yesterday?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, because I was a little bit uncertain. I mean, look, passing game coordinator, It's just, the title is now, again, I was told before any of this happened that essentially, understand that agents get involved in titles. Okay. So,
sure.
Tim Kelly, it's interesting too. Vrabel said this a couple times with the Tim Kelly thing. He said not coming in with an agenda. He said that at the podium. He said that with us, which I guess I take as not coming in trying to unseat Todd Downing.
That's the way I took it.
But it's interesting because Tim Kelly and Jim Schwartz are in very different situations in their careers. Jim Schwartz has been a head coach. He's been a very successful DC. He's older. I mean, he's established. Tim Kelly is still early in his career. Things went sideways in Houston. I mean, really not of his doing at all. But yeah, that's a guy like Jim Schwartz. Like it totally worked out last year. And I know he interviewed for some jobs, so it's not like he's waiting to it's not like he's content to just do this forever. But it kind of made sense with Tim Kelly. I mean, it's like you're trying to progress. You're trying to find the next job. Everybody gets fired in this business, or your staff gets fired. Things go bad. You got to find the next thing. But to me, Tim Kelly is going to want to be an OC as soon as possible, right? So it's different at different points of their careers for sure. But Glennon asked Vrabel, basically, I mean, to translate the question, if you have a passing game coordinator, does that mean you're going to pass more? I mean, that's, and let's see, I typed this out in my story. Let's see. No. Vrabel's
7 no's.
Was he had a no, and then he had no. He had 6 really quick in a row there. But anyway, but he had some, it does sound a little, again, to me, a little different than Schwartz in terms of how Schwartz has been described, which is maybe a little bit more back end advisor role. Not that he's not involved in planning and stuff like that, but with Kelly, he's talking about being a sounding board, enhance things. The interesting part of the quote I thought here was quote, this isn't, it will be to enhance and help us where we feel we need help, or maybe there's some concepts or decisions we have to make, or how you read something, however you guys read this out, or what are some plays that maybe we don't currently run that we'd want to use. Those are all conversations we've already had and we will have. Yeah. End quote. So, but that's, I mean, again, it's a great thing to me, as long as everybody can work together well. If you have another, you have another cook in the kitchen, but someone who brings maybe some different concepts, different ideas, and if it can work that way, where it's just he's an advisor for Downing, and maybe they enhance the passing aspect of the offense a little bit, great. This is going to be the same thing as a year ago. It never came to pass because the Titans were almost immediately better on defense. Well, they weren't great at Seattle, that's for sure.
No.
So I guess real early they weren't, but pretty quickly they settled in and improved. But had they not, we talked about it going into last year. It was going to be, when is Schwartz going to be the DC? And that's the potential here on the other side of the ball now.
Well, and to that point, even when things started going well on defense, it wasn't, hey, Shane Bowen's doing a great job. It's how much credit does Jim Schwartz deserve for all this going on? So, if the Titans offense comes in next year and Ryan Tannehill's lighting it up, it's like, that Tim Kelly, he's come in and Tannehill has just totally been transformed back to Arthur Smith days under Tim Kelly.
That's true. I mean, look, Todd Downing is still the OC, and you got to be happy to be an OC. You got a chance to be an OC for a good team. But from that perspective, from the perspective of if Todd Downing wants to be a head coach, this move, right or wrong, at least publicly, is going to potentially, sap credit from him if things turn around. Now, you can't think about things that way if you're in that job. And, the thing about that is the reality of what everybody did, that people in the NFL who are making a hire are going to get better information than media have on that stuff, So, and Todd Downing knows that. They all know that. But it's still the public discussion of the team. Yeah, I think they'll, and if they do, and if it's Tannehill in particular playing great, how many Tim Kelly questions are there going to be? A whole bunch.
Oh yeah,
Vrabel knows this.
He is well aware. I don't think
but they got to get better. They got to find. I mean, look, you can't tell me that Arthur Smith's departure was not a big hit to Ryan Tannehill.
Well, I think
how
it's clear.
much of one, I don't know, but to Tannehill in this offense, it's how much of one, I don't know exactly, but it was significant.
It was clear. I thought, you know, when you started talking about like what are some plays that maybe we don't run right now that we could. I will say when I heard that quote yesterday, the first thing I thought of was like, oh yeah, AJ Brown, get him the ball any way possible. And then Vrabel was eventually asked about like AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel. I thought his response on that was interesting. He's basically like, Deebo has a unique skill set that, I kind of marvel at too when I watch. I don't know that AJ Brown is ever going to end up having 100 carries trying to make him a better receiver, but he did kind of leave the door open of, hey, we like getting AJ the ball, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Just it's a unique skill set with Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, well, and so the question from Ben Arthur was about he asked about Deebo Samuel and Cooper Kupp, which I took as basically getting the ball into the hands of your best player or your best receiver a lot more.
Yeah,
but at first Vrabel was like, Deebo and Cooper Kupp are not the same player, but that wasn't the point of the question. The point of the question was just basically like, how do you get the ball in his hands more? And by the way, Vrabel brought up a very important point. He made sure to bring up a Cooper Kupp, incredible blocking receiver. I just like to point that out. Yeah, that's right. You heard. Yeah, you heard.
John Mechie to the Titans confirmed. We learned yesterday.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, you have to try to read into. And again, I go back to 2 years ago. We've talked about this, but 2 years ago, they were a lot more forceful in we got to have Derrick Henry than they were in we've got to have Ryan Tannehill. Well, they ended up with both of them. They ended up giving Tannehill a big deal, and obviously they tagged Henry and eventually made got that deal done. So I didn't necessarily leave Indy 2 years ago thinking Tannehill's absolutely. I figured he would be, but there's a little bit of uncertainty. Sure. I've got more uncertainty now about Harold Landry, and we've talked about this. It's kind of been feeling that way, right? But I've definitely got more uncertainty now. Now, granted, this is also it's posturing time and all that stuff as you try to work something out. But I came away from yesterday thinking I think they're at least have in their mind that what's the scenario if he's gone and you just can't pay him when he wants to be paid, and then how do you proceed from there? Like I don't think it's like Landry or bust right now.
So with that in mind, we'll get into some of that on the other side when we come back. Take your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com 615-737-1025. We'll try to read the tea leaves as to what some comments from Vrabel and Robinson yesterday at the combine may mean for some high-level free agents that the Titans have moving forward, and maybe some cap casualties as well on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Every Friday at 8:30 on Robby and Rexrode, we talk with the legend Terry Chris about all things Nashville Predators, presented by Copper Branch on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Put your tray tables up, turn vacation mode on, and fly away to where you belong, the beach. Myrtle Beach is 60 miles where you can let your best self shine. Start planning at visitmyrtlebeach.com.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
The Region's Writing Forward Scholarship Contest celebrates stories of inspirational Black Americans. Tell us about a Black American who's inspired you, and you could earn a $3,500 or $5,000 college scholarship. Enter by March 31st, 2022 at regions.com/writingforward. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Open only to certain high school and college students in states with Regions full service branches. Complete eligibility requirements, contest details, and official rules available at regions.com/writingforward. Contest sponsor Regions Bank. Member FDIC.
Cheers to you, girl. I know you're excited about the new job.
Oh, thanks so much.
Hey, is that my engagement ring you're wearing?
Don't be silly. Oh, wow. They are identical. How did that happen?
Don't tell me. He went to jail.
Yeah, yours too, I guess.
Wow.
Don't make her settle for one of those cookie cutter rings from the big corporate chain jewelry stores. At Genesis Diamonds, you can get her a stunning one-of-a-kind designer ring, one that's as unique as she is. Genesis has over 4,000 handcrafted rings from world-class designers like Tacori, Viraggio, Henry Dawsey, and others. These are designers that you'll never see in one of those mega corporate stores, but we have them starting at under $1,000. So ladies, don't settle for the ordinary, for a ring that will be yours and yours alone. Make sure he goes to
Genesis Diamonds.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations so you get the product you're looking for. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Robby and Rexrode on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Time it was easier to get to know a free agent. Free agents actually visited places. I imagine you went to New England before you signed there, and getting to know a veteran player was a big deal before you signed him. Now, that first wave of free agency, nobody visits. I imagine you're calling friends and people who know people.
Yeah, you try to gather
and
information.
You get to know rookies better with your 15 minutes and with the day visit.
Yeah, I mean, the rookie, you just have more time, because, again, there's a draft. The free agency becomes like that supermarket sweep.
Is it riskier?
I think that it can be done. I think that it can be done in a manner that, we're always trying to marginalize risk, and trying to, in all the decisions that we make. So, getting to know the player that we're going to add to our team is critical. And it's never going to be perfect, and it hasn't been perfect. But I know that the ones that have stuck around, that are part of our core, are guys that I believe in, that John believes in, and we're excited to add around them.
That was Mike Vrabel with Paul Kaharski yesterday, discussing his thoughts on the team as they head into free agency, the draft. Interesting offseason coming up here for the Titans. And I thought yesterday some interesting comments at the Combine as well, Joe Rexrode. And we talked about it to end the last break. Harold Landry, obviously, that is a big decision, really the number one decision the Titans have to make here in the next few weeks as to what to do with Harold Landry. The tag window is open. You're trying to work on a long-term deal. And I too, I came away yesterday from John Robinson with some of the comments he made, a little less convinced that he was going to be there. Now, as you said, I think this time of year, it's tough to maybe strike the balance listening to general managers talk of, all right, well, how much is posturing in terms of negotiations and how much is, things that are really going on that he's thinking about of maybe Harold Landry not being here. There were a couple of things that stood out to me. I thought John Robinson made it a point yesterday when he was talking about the pass rush. He talked about Harold Landry and how he's done a great job and gave Harold Landry credit. I think he also made it a point multiple times to say, Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree, they all really helped Harold Landry. Harold Landry really helped them. And that, kind of working together as a pass rush, it was impressive to watch. Joe, I also found it interesting that as he started talking about the draft and positions of depth, the first place he went was edge rusher. He started talking about edge rusher and how deep the draft was at that position. And look, maybe I'm just reading too much into that, but I thought that was pretty interesting yesterday from J-Rob.
No, I thought the same thing. I found that interesting, and I agree. You know, it's okay. Let's go to the quote. So on Landry, he definitely made the point that a lot of it all went into. I think, okay, quote. I think that all those guys benefited from each other. I thought the rush was coordinated. I thought Danico's presence, Jeffrey's presence helped Harold. So that's right after a question, whatever the question was about Landry, and there were a few in a row about tagging him, signing, all that stuff. He continues with the quote, I thought Harold's presence helped Jeffrey, and that's what you want from them, but it's a balance of trying to keep that thing together, working through Harold's contract, and then being mindful of players we kind of have coming down the pike too, which is interesting. Like, I guess when I think of that, I guess my mind went to Rashad Weaver. I mean, look, if you're a Titans fan who watched that team finally have this great pass rush last year, I mean, a difference-making pass rush, a dramatic, almost a 180. Really, it was a 180 from the year before.
Yep.
And now you're being told, the 12 sack guy, who granted, he's not a dominant force on his own, but he's a 12 sack guy, made a lot of plays down the field all the time, may be gone, and the hope is that like Rashad Weaver can step into that role. Man, that can't sound great. On the other hand, I do understand. I mean, I understand like the why the cost would be concerning, and would you'd have to be really, you have to talk about that a lot internally. Like, this is a lot of money. Is he that guy? Because he's going to get paid like he is one of those, just dominant edge guys that has to be doubled at all times. I don't think that's what he is, but I still think that keeping that four together, because they work so well, should be the priority.
Well, and I thought too, he was asked directly if he feels like Harold Landry will be a Titan yesterday, and I just found the quote. It says, quote, I don't know how I feel. I hope so. He's done a lot of good things for us, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. He has certainly worked hard, and he's been about what we're about, and we're going to do our best to try to keep him there. Like the end of that, we're going to do our best to try to keep him there was interesting to me. I mean, obviously, look, I think they want Harold Landry. I think they like Harold Landry, and they want him to be a member of the Titans moving forward here. But I think it's pretty clear that they also have a number that they really don't want to go over. And I wonder what that number is and whether or not they're going to be able to get a deal done. And, I also wonder, like, if you can't get a long-term deal done, are you interested in tagging Harold Landry? Like, do you want to absorb that type of a cap hit for 1 year? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if it's as simple as you can't come to a long-term deal, so you've got to franchise tag him and you're absorbing that type of a cap hit, that's a whole lot of a cap hit in Bud Dupree and Harold Landry for this next year.
Well, and that's true, but it's also like that might be a player. That might be a player that you either have or don't have. I mean, I guess in theory it could be a couple players, a little bit lower cost, who you either have or don't have, or it's as you go looking into the tight end market. Now it's okay. You got to go blue light special rather than, a little bit higher level of, established starting tight end. That's a big deal. Obviously, if you can work out a long-term deal that gives you relief, and Robinson talked about that too, the whole, like, how long do you go kicking the can on things and all that, and he said, it's a tough thing, but it also has to do with where you are. I mean, if you think that you can make a run, which, by the way, I think the outside world probably doesn't look at the Titans anymore like they're one of the favorites. I don't, but I mean, you've built this really good team. You could certainly still make a run. Can you make it work? Is it worth the tag for 1 year? I don't know. I guess I get like what TD was saying before, the risk of tagging, but then not being able to work out that deal. Then you're stuck with that number. Well, and Jared brought up another possibility, the tag and trade option too. If you can't figure it out, try to trade him and, get a pick. You could do that.
Yeah, you could. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of options here on the table for John Robinson and the Titans. I'm fascinated to see how this plays out with Harold Landry. Ben Jones, I thought was interesting yesterday too, because he's got obviously an expiring contract. We've talked a lot about Roger Saffold. I kind of got and maybe you disagree with this, I kind of got a vibe yesterday from John Robinson that he would really like to keep the offensive line together if he could. I mean, he talked about continuity. I also, I heard Vrabel get up there and start talking about Ben Jones, and he was effusive in his praise for Ben Jones, but he also, the way he ended it, he said something like, I'll always be a fan of that, which maybe I'm reading too much into, but that kind of felt to me does he know something about Ben Jones? Because it kind of sounds like maybe Ben Jones won't be back, which I've never really, I've always thought Ben Jones is probably going to be back at this point.
Read that one the exact same way too. The quote was, I asked Vrabel about Ben Jones and continuity, and in particular continuity just at that position. One, he starts the quote with, quote, I think the continuity from year to year, not so much important, but once you get in the rigors of the season, see what you're facing, et cetera, et cetera. So that was interesting that he started with, year to year, not necessarily.
Right.
To him, continuity is just someone having, and then he went into how he was always available. Whatever his level of play, his availability. Yeah. So the end of the quote is, quote, whatever his level of play is, his availability and durability is something I've respected the most. The husband he is, father he is, teammate he is exceptional. Performance on the field, his availability and durability is something I'll always admire, end quote. And I was like, oh, so goodbye, Ben Jones. But is that me overreacting? Sure, could be. But you thought the same thing. It definitely sounded. But again, so goodbye, Ben Jones. Well, who are you drafting high? Goodbye, Harold Landry. You like those edge rushers in the draft? How many picks are we talking about here? Are you going to get a receiver? Are you going to get a tight end? I mean, this is the puzzle that is. It's going to be fascinating to see it be put together. There's going to be something somewhere that looks woefully unaddressed, I'd say.
I think there's no question about it. And look, I honestly, I've just kind of written Roger Saffold off at this point. Maybe that's been premature on my part. I mean, I have thought about it from their perspective of, yes, the pass blocking has to get better. And we'll get to some comments that they made on Dylan Radins coming up here in just a few minutes. But, the run blocking part of this is something that you can't just ignore. Their run blocking has been so good, and Saffold's been such a big part of that. That's obviously the identity of their team. They want to be able to run the ball. If you're getting rid of Saffold, how much are you going to suffer in the run game, and how much does that factor into their decision? I mean, obviously it's a huge number for Roger Saffold, but are you willing to give that up, and how dominant that left side in particular has been, run blocking and being able to run the football that way? Are you willing to just throw that away if you're the Titans? I don't know. I've written Roger Saffold off, and I'm less sure after yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not. Because I didn't hear anything. Yeah, I'm not, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, especially when we're talking about all these things, I suppose, if Jones, Landry's gone, there's more flexibility elsewhere, but I still think Saffold would be gone. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Robinson even talking about, he was asked about, the offense. Or actually, I don't remember what he was asked about, but he was asked about running, the pass defense and all that stuff. And he's like, the number one thing D coordinators say every week is you have to stop the run. You have to stop the run or you're toast. Which of course then, I mean, they're certainly going to value running the ball. I mean, look, 22, it's interesting too. I don't think he came up one time yesterday, which is really bizarre. If you think about it.
Yeah.
But 22 is still the center of this whole thing. He's going to, they're going to go, if he's great and he's all the way back, then they got a chance to be really good. And if he's not, then I don't know. But another thing on that, by the way, running backs, I definitely took his curt answer. Now I'm thinking, okay, so maybe Darrington Evans doesn't get another chance.
He may not.
And I'm a little, maybe they think they need to put some money aside on Deontay Foreman. Although Robinson was asked about that, and the answer was just basically he did a great job of taking advantage of his opportunity. So it wasn't like this, we got to sign him. But if Evans is gone, if they want to move on from Evans, I got to think at least Dontrell Hilliard will be back.
You would think so. I mean, I couldn't think that both of them would be gone at that point, because I agree. Like he was asked about Darrington Evans, and he was basically like, yeah, well, he was hurt all year. He didn't play for us. That was his answer for Darrington Evans, which I was like, all righty. I guess that tells you what they think about Darrington Evans at this time. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Got more of your thoughts to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. And why J-Rob had one comment yesterday on the defensive side of the ball that I found to be very interesting. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
Jump in the mind of an Aaron.
They need 2 points.
And Robby and Rexrode Thursday mornings at 9:30.
Goaltending, I think it might be an issue at some point.
Presented by Duncan on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Indeed believes less is more. That's why they have powerful tools to help you source, screen, and hire quality people faster. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. The Kubota commercial lineup, with purpose-built mowers like the Z700 zero-turn, SZ stand-on, and W-Series walk-behind, decrease downtime and increase productivity. A comprehensive fleet program with special discounts and free loaners helps grow your business one perfectly manicured lawn at a time. Visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Come see why Coleman Tractor Company is one of the largest Kubota dealers in Middle Tennessee, Paris, Clarksville, Nashville, and their new location in White House. Attention veterans of Middle Tennessee. Little Guys Movers wants to put your hard-earned skills and leadership talent to work with your very own Little Guys Movers franchise. Be your own boss and build a team with standards as high as your own, and all while serving your community with the same hustle that you served your country. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Start a fulfilling, profitable new chapter of your life as a member of a team with 30-plus years of growth and good times at LittleGuysFranchise.com. That's LittleGuysFranchise.com.
At Copper Branch, they live life to the fullest. Food is your energy and your life. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville, their goal is to serve you, your friends, and family quality, great-tasting, plant-based power foods. Visit Copper Branch at 601 Church Street for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with convenient and validated parking during library hours, and download their app for curbside pickup. Or come out for songwriter and live music nights several times throughout the week to empower, energize, and feel your best. Visit Copper Branch today.
If you're looking for inspiration and impact this International Women's Day, don't miss the annual Women's Leadership Summit on Tuesday afternoon, March 8th at Ozari Event Center in West Nashville. You'll learn from, connect with, and grow among powerhouse women from diverse fields while building a solid future for girls in our community. The Women's Leadership Summit is powered by Nashville nonprofit Play Like a Girl and includes panel discussions, informal mentoring moments, a very special executive auction, and cocktails. Visit iplaylikeagirl.org or call 615-601-1864.
The minute you lay your eyes on the all-new Toyota Tundra Capstone, you'll know it was made to make a statement. With its 22-inch dark chrome alloy wheels made for turning heads, carefully crafted two-tone leather trim seats made for pulling up in style, 12-speaker JBL premium audio made for turning up, plus power running boards made for stepping out on the town. The all-new Tundra Capstone, made to make a statement. Toyota, let's go places. JBL is a registered trademark of Harman International Industries, Inc.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Paul Feinbaum, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
The desire to keep that pass rush intact the way it played last year, but then also knowing you need to do things on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun to watch last year to see how all that kind of came together, and I think that all of those guys, they benefited from each other. I thought the rush was coordinated. I thought Danico's presence along with Jeffrey's presence helped Harold. I thought Harold's presence helped Jeffrey, and that's what you want from that front. But it is a balance, of trying to keep that thing together and working through, Harold's contract and being mindful of players that we have kind of coming down the pike too, that we want to try to keep there as well.
That was Titans GM John Robinson yesterday at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, discussing Harold Landry and the Titans front and the challenge that the Titans now have trying to make all those pieces fit. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Got a text that says, I just don't understand how the defense does a complete 180 from the last season, and we're seriously considering breaking these guys up. Pay Landry in all capital letters. Pay Landry.
I get the sentiment. I do. I mean, I've been banging that drum too. Look, I get the challenge. I understand man, do you want to be paying elite pass rusher money to a really good all-around player who had 12 sacks, but who maybe isn't that guy? And I understand it. But this is what happens. I mean, when the timing works out for players in this league, it happens all the time. They get paid, market value, and maybe they're not quite that player, but it's just their turn, and that's the market. And again, to me, long term, it may be that, yes, it's a ton of investment in two edge guys, but it may be that, Landry is the better one to go with long term, and then you can get out of Dupree before too long. So Now, in the meantime, you got to pay them both. I mean, I get it. That's why if you get a long term deal done, then you can structure it to be okay, I think, here in the short term. And from Landry's perspective, Landry knows, and his agent knows, he can go out there and he can get paid a lot. But does Landry like being here? Does Landry like being in that quartet? And there are benefits to it. I mean, it wasn't just him. Jeffrey Simmons is the best player of the bunch.
Yes.
And frankly, I mean, Danico Autry was a huge difference maker last year. There's no doubt. I mean, those two inside were so disruptive and powerful. And I think that's probably some of the trepidation, like, okay, how much did Landry benefit? But again, whoever gets the credit, like, all of it together is really good.
Yeah.
It's just, I just would not mess with something that's that good.
Well, and if you do, like, what's the guarantee that a Rashad Weaver, like, it would be one thing if you had a season's worth of evidence from Rashad Weaver to maybe gauge what he's going to be at this level. But I have no clue what sort of a player Rashad Weaver is going to look like at the NFL level. I mean, I like some of the tools that he has, and he was a good player in college. I have no idea what he's going to look like in the NFL.
Yeah, like in the preseason game in Atlanta, he looked like he looked like a game wrecker.
He did.
Preseason game in Atlanta. No, I think Rashad Weaver's going to be good. He is coming off a big injury, but I think he's going to be good. He's definitely a different kind of player, though, from Landry. A little bit more of a physical guy, bull rush kind of guy. Certainly, he's like, I like him, but that's just a lot to to put on someone, and then I guess you could draft someone, but that one, and maybe it's just that it just happened to come to Robinson's mind. That's the problem with this stuff is, we go to these things and I don't know, I'm sitting here talking and sometimes just random thoughts roll through my head and who the heck knows what's going to come out of my mouth. So the fact that John Robinson said, defense edge rushers first, who knows? He could have been like looking at edge rushers right before the presser started. But yes, of course I read into that. And you did too. Like, gosh, is he already preparing for life without Landry and to use significant draft capital on that? But then if you do that, I struggle to see how you're giving your offense enough help.
Joe, there was one moment yesterday that made me raise my eyebrows again, and it's not necessarily the most surprising thing because he's already said it once, basically. But to me, like John Robinson basically doubled down on yesterday that he would really like to have Zach Cunningham back on the football team. I mean, that's what I took away from that. I think the quote was basically, "Yeah, we'd like to have him back," is what John Robinson said yesterday. Now,
that was my question too, and yes, it was a 2-second. Yeah, like I'm back. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Like, oh, thank you, John. Appreciate you. But like, are you at this point with how public he's been on that? Are you convinced Zach Cunningham's coming back next year? Because I kind of am.
Yeah, I'm convinced that they want him back. Are they going to pay him? Like that's the thing is, like what are they going to be able to get something done differently with his deal? I don't know. I don't know. They can cut him and have not 1 cent of dead money. The way things work and the way the rules are, but I don't know. That's a good question. Hey, before we end this segment, I need to rip Jared and Caroline. Can I rip Jared and Caroline?
Please do.
Go for it.
All right. So I feel like I don't think these competitions are fair anymore. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. No, but I've got a nickname. I've got a nickname for Jared and Caroline.
Okay.
Because they, I like I always get it mixed up. Is it Tannehill Boohoo Crew or Boohoo Tannehill Crew?
It's Tannehill Boohoo, or it's Boohoo Tannehill Crew.
Okay. I mean, I like that. It's funny. It's good. I saw the other day, it was like, Jared was like, "I'm heartbroken. Derek Mason is part of the Boohoo Tannehill Crew," So Caroline and Jared together, they are the Tannehill Tattletales.
Okay.
Amazing.
They are the Tannehill Tattletales. Like everything has to be about Tannehill. So Jared and I basically have given up. Like that's fine. Judge it however you want with the Jared versus Joe. Last week, Jared beat me with a take that included that John Hines would have been on the hot seat.
I know.
And he won. And that told me like, okay, so this is what happens. And yesterday, like Caroline's like, "Well, you were better at this one and this one, but," and the but is always this. There's always some question in there that the answer has to be like Ryan Tannehill should face a firing squad. Like,
yes.
Whatever the question is, like if your answer is not so like Jared's thing is like basically John Robinson's emotion was just purely like, "Oh, I signed Tannehill," like
I heard this.
Like everything has to be 100% Tannehill. And look, I will acknowledge, I'm sure the Tannehill thoughts and concerns and questions and maybe regrets are part of all these things, but no, it was bigger than that. But those two, it has to always come down to 17. They are the Tannehill Tattletales.
I like it.
They will henceforth be known as the Tannehill Tattletales.
There could be some t-shirts made out of that one.
Let's do it.
I'm for it. The Tannehill Tattletales. Anytime you can incorporate some alliteration, it's good with me.
Yep. And it kind of feels that way too, right?
It does.
Like they're always tattling. "Oh, you said something good about Tannehill. Tattle. Oh, D-Mace didn't rip Tannehill. Oh, tattle. I'm tattling on you."
Oh, I love it. When we come back, it is time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Very mild start this morning, temperatures 40s and 50s. From here, we'll warm back up into the 70s under mostly sunny skies. Storms hold off until Sunday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Thursday, March 3rd, we're doing something unheard of. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy, shown by Cambridge to repair blood vessels and get rid of ED at its core. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're gonna love that. And today only, we're offering 3 additional treatments to our patients free. This means that if you notice results fading, we'll retreat you free of charge. This is unprecedented and worth $800. Call today, Thursday, March 3rd, and qualify free. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 615-576-5000.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Your home value is way up. You can use that money now to pay off credit cards or remodel your house, or both. Hey, Willie Donner for Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can convert that home equity into cash as little as 2 weeks from now with no cost to you and zero hassle. Mike and Joan in Brentwood called Loan Pronto and they did a Loan Pronto zero cost cash out refi. They got a check for $100,000. They used $50,000 to pay off all of their credit cards and a car loan. Use the other $50K to upgrade their master bath and kitchen. They locked in a new APR in the 2s and lowered their total monthly bills by hundreds of dollars. Hello? What are you waiting on? Call Loan Pronto now and convert your home value into cash. Put that money to good use. Do it now, and you could even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780 or lowpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Sometimes their glass is half full.
That was unbelievable. It was the best NFL draft they've ever had.
Sometimes glass half empty.
What are we getting ourselves into here? Tough game.
And sometimes it's all about the numbers.
1 win, and they've gone on this streak, and now they're at 500.
Hang out with Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2 during your workday. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Robby and Rexrode is on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week now on Robby and Rexrode
On ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports for this week. We'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, as you do every week, would you like to kick us off this week with your best and worst things in the world of sports?
Sure. Thanks for asking.
Of course.
So my best, very simple. It's basketball. And I'll give a shout out to John Morant for sure. He's been amazing. But mostly it is college basketball. One of my favorite times of the year. We are here. It is tournament time. I'm pumped today for some SEC women's tournament at Bridgestone. Be there all day.
Shout out Shea Ralph.
Shea Ralph and Vanderbilt destroy Texas A&M yesterday to earn a shot at Florida today around 2:30 at Bridgestone. Really, interesting story. They've been under the radar. They got a losing record, but you're talking about first year for a coach who took over obviously a program that's been down, and I think there's a lot of encouraging signs with that. That's going to be interesting. Tomorrow, Tennessee gets into it with the late game, and we'll see what they can do as banged up as they are. But you got Belmont. Lipscomb is alive, and the Lipscomb men, Belmont men, of course, have a have a chance. I mean, I think there's still a good chance that Saturday they are playing Murray State with an NCAA bid on the line. And, I don't like their chances, but they got a chance. Both MTSU teams are really good. I mean, the MTSU men been one of the probably the biggest surprise around here. And, you come down to Vols in Arkansas, huge game before that tournament gets going next week. It's a beautiful, wonderful time of the year. That's my best.
Nice.
My worst is football.
Okay.
The NFL Combine is so stupid. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. And look, again, it's just, it was good to see some old friends this week. Got to meet some coworkers that I only knew from Slack before. Good to get some interviews in. Get to see all the GMs and coaches at the podiums there. So it's fine. These interviews. It just continues from here. Like Jared yesterday, as I'm driving home, and he's like, "What? You're not you're not staying for the drills?" And I think I said I'd rather eat my foot. But seriously,
You said your toe.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty gross. So I'm sorry. Although I'm not sorry for those of you who like the sounds of that.
Yeah.
Sean, text line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. You know who you are. But it's just if I ever get caught in the last, I don't know, 10 years. So the last thing that I remember in the last 10 years, I think I can recall one, DK Metcalf's 40. Okay, that was, and I saw it on Twitter. Whoa, okay. If I ever watch any of that stuff, someone needs to smack me in the face. And hey, all due respect to all of you who do watch. People watch.
Oh, yeah.
It's turned into a show. Congrats to the NFL. They figured out a way to, people creating spreadsheets, they can get that watched on television. I don't know how, but they figured out. It is the most overrated, idiotic thing in sports, the NFL Combine.
Oh, I love it. Very well done, Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knesvik, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Okay, so I'm going to start my worst thing in sports.
Okay.
My worst thing in sports is this Saturday is Coach K's last game in Cameron Indoor Arena. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the ticket prices for this game, if you go to StubHub, the cheapest ticket is $3,900, and the tickets are averaging at about $5,300. I get it. It's a very historic day and everything like that. But I guess maybe from my perspective is I went to a school where it was so hard to get basketball tickets. As a student, you want a huge student section. That's the spirit, the just love of the game. You want your students there. And I feel like when no students are going to be able to go. It's just going to be all people who are rich and who can afford it and alumni and everything. And that just got
I don't know. Some of that Duke money floating around, they may be able to get in there.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. It just made me sad for the students because, I know there's probably a lottery or something and there's some way that they could get tickets, but it's so hard to get it and get them and it's so frustrating. And I just saw that and it made me mad for people or people who normally go and they're like, well, I can't afford that. That's 3 months rent or something. Or in this case, in Nashville, that's 2 months rent.
Yeah. Joe, you heading up there for the Cameron Indoor Crazies?
Man, it might be a little bit less spittle on you in a game like this. A little bit more of a wine and cheese crowd, huh?
Yeah,
right? So. Exactly. Okay, and my best thing in sports, it was going to be SEC basketball, kind of like Joe touched on. I was just going to say the men's SEC basketball, it has not been this competitive in so long, which it's just so awesome. Every game, I'm so excited to go down to Tampa next weekend to see the tournament. But my main best in sports, our high school varsity hockey team, they got number 1 on SportsCenter's top 10 plays. And I tweeted it out under our game account. But just shout out Shenandoah High School, our Shen hockey team. One of our players, he gets hit and then he slides on his butt and then he scores the goal. Pretty sick. I tweeted it out. But shout out my high school. Clifton Park, New York.
We actually saw this on the top 10 the other day.
I had no idea it was your high school.
I had no clue it was your high school.
Did?
Oh, yeah, we saw it.
And I was sitting in here?
Top 10. You were. And I was like, wow, what a goal there. Who's that? I don't know who that is.
I thought it was a college. That's why I was like, who is that? What is it? Yeah, I thought it was a college game. So
yeah.
I didn't even know that. Well, shout out my high school.
That's pretty sweet. It's good stuff. All right, my best thing in sports. I've got a combo best thing in sports. Ja Morant is the most fun player to watch in all of basketball right now. If you're not watching Ja Morant, I would encourage you to do so. I know there's Steph Curry and LeBron still doing his thing. I'm not saying he's the best player in all of basketball, but I think he is the most fun to watch right now. And this week has been no exception. So Ja Morant gets part of it. And I will say, I spent many a time yesterday, Joe, after we read the article from Field Yates, pondering what it would be like to have Mitch Trubisky as the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So that's my best thing. The idea of Mitch Trubisky being the quarterback for the Colts. I have to see this happen now. Get out of here, Carson Wentz. We're bringing in Mitch Trubisky, and the Colts are going to the Super Bowl.
That sounds beautiful.
It does. I'm sure Titans fans would love to see Mitch Trubisky in there. My worst in sports is pretty simple. Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred. You've allowed yourself now to enter into, March without having a deal done. And, the deal itself, I don't really care about. Like, honestly, if baseball misses 45 games this year, I could not care less. And I don't know that most people would be able to care less. Like, at that point, you're still playing like 120 games or whatever it would be. But just Rob Manfred the other day getting up to the podium and like joking around and laughing and practicing his golf swing before he walks up there and all this other stuff while you're supposedly trying to work your butt off to get a deal done, I thought was just a really bad look. I think he's largely been an idiot ever since he's taken over Major League Baseball anyway. And this has just reinforced that this week. He is the worst commissioner in all of sports, and it continues to be on display.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's that's the clear best worst thing in sports this week. Yeah. Embarrassing. It's disastrous. And I'm old enough to remember saying in 1994 when they ended the season, they did not finish the season. I'm done with baseball. Yeah. And did I stick with that? No, but I stuck with that for a few years. And you're going to alienate some people with this. It's really bad. I go to the text line real quick for Nate.
Yep.
Driven by WilsonCountyHunt.com. Said the worst thing in sports, Jared versus Joe. Not only have we found out it's rigged, there was zero handshake line suit discussion yesterday that I was looking forward to. Now, Caroline Fenton and I have had a nice little text exchange here in the break. She's making me laugh. But that's another thing to the Tannehill Tattletales. How do you not bring up Jared's terrible suit take? Like, we have chances to rip on Jared.
Yeah.
We got to jump on these opportunities.
I even tweeted the video of you putting your suit on.
You did?
Before it. I was ready.
I mean, like, Caroline comes up with the topics, and that should be, like, people shouldn't interfere.
I think Caroline's probably so tired of talking about suits that she just purposely was like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Or is Jared bribing the judges?
Well, it could be.
Do we have a scandal on our hands?
She also has to work with him every day, though, so.
That is true.
Shout out, Caroline. We love her. My girl.
I mean, hey, believe me, talk about, like double her salary. I feel like if I listen to an hour of that, yeah. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Talk about Stockholm syndrome.
Got a text that says, need to give Vol Nation and the boosters a big shout out for raising a ton of money for Zakai Ziegler's family with the house fire.
That's a great best and worst.
Yeah.
The worst is like that his family house burned down. The best is what's the number at now? I meant to look that up today.
$300,000. I just checked.
It's a lot.
They're gonna have like the sweetest Upper East Side apartment in Manhattan.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised at all. Like this is where the power of Vol Twitter can be an awesome thing in the good way. Dennis already has Tannehill's Tattletales shirt done.
Yes. Chris on the text line is a great one too. Says the best thing in sports is I've not found the story specifically, but I heard Fitz talking about it on ESPN radio the other night. The group of Titans fans who were coming together to help a Titans fan in Ukraine get out of the country. And I think Fitz said something about Titans fans in Germany waiting at the border. If you missed that, Jared was all over that the other day as well on his show of, a Titans fan escaping Ukraine. They went to Romania, eventually hoping to get to Germany on that front too. Lots of money raised on that front. So good to see him and his family get out of Ukraine.
Yeah, great one. A lot of great candidates this week, and more good than bad.
Which is a refreshing change of pace.
Though the bad is bad.
The bad is bad. There's no question. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Harris from Channel 4. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans, the NFL Combine, and his question that got an emotional reaction out of John Robinson yesterday. All that coming up on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
Now, you may say, well, a quarterback is more important than a running back. That's fine. You can say whatever you want.
The voice of the fan.
Even if we have to develop him while he's playing, I just want a boring first-round pick.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators led the Seattle Kraken last night 1-0 after one. And then early in the second, they had the power play. Yossi with the pass taken in nicely. Duchesne, his shot, he scores. Matt Duchesne, his 11th power play goal of the year, and the Predators take a 2-0 lead.
What a finish there from Matt Duchesne as he blows through the neutral zone and accepts an absolutely filthy pass from Roman Yossi.
Duchesne is 24th of the year from Yossi and Johansson, but Seattle scored the next 3 goals in 2:39 for a 3-2 lead. Duchesne tied it up later on in the second period, but a shorthanded goal by ex-Predator Colin Blackwell proved to be the game difference in the third. 4-3 the final. Up next, the Predators take on the Sharks in San Jose Saturday night.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Garth Brooks, Saturday, April 16th, Nissan Stadium. Presented by Amazon Music. Tickets on sale Friday, March 4th at 10 a.m. Only 3 ways to buy. Ticketmaster.com/Garth Brooks, the Garth Brooks line at Ticketmaster, or the Ticketmaster app.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
It's Robby and Rexrode with Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Chris Harris from WSMV here in Nashville. Chris, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Just enjoying this beautiful sunny morning.
It is a great day here in our area here. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Chris, a lot to get to you with here today. I'll start with, I think, the obvious. You asked a question yesterday of John Robinson. Good question about you. Just going through kind of the checklist for J-Rob on what he thinks that needs to get better from his end of things. How surprised were you about his response? And I guess in particular, how emotional John Robinson got with his response?
Yeah, always surprising anytime, especially in that setting when anyone gets emotional. So, you're sitting there and he immediately starts to kind of pause and you're like, is he tearing up? And then you're like, oh my gosh, he is tearing up. And then it just became how long is this going to last? And the pause, going back and watching the video, I timed it from the very beginning of his answer until the very end. Was 1 minute and 15 seconds, and the pause in the middle was at least 30 seconds, if not more. So it was something, and it was one of those deals where, like, when it's happening, you're kind of like, doing what we do, I'm like, my God, I hope we're rolling on this. And then after that, it's just like, well, we'll see where it goes from here. But it was something, because not something you usually expect in that type of setting, like I said.
So would you say you're more Barbara Walters or Roy Firestone in your ability to induce tears from your interview subjects, Chris?
Yeah, it's a good question. I can't think of any other time where it's, caused someone to go to tears that quickly. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was it was a moment.
All I know is then Corey Curtis, asked Vrabel about it. Like he said, And then Vrabel gave his answer, and after that, I'm like, "Hey, nice try, Corey, but Chris Harris, I'm just saying, man, you gave it a shot, buddy, but wrong guy to try to get to cry." No, and by the way, I did time it; it was 31 seconds. The pause.
Okay, there we go. It was just one of those deals, and I don't know about you guys what you were thinking about it, but some of those instances, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older now, that I immediately started to think, my gosh, to me, like a sign of a show of vulnerability is like an extreme confidence in yourself, right? Like you don't care what you're putting out there because you know who you are. And so to me, that's like a moment of courage. And that's really like what I was thinking in the middle of it, is like, wow, he's really going there and he does not care. And that was impressive to me.
Yeah,
go ahead, Robby.
No, I was just saying, I thought it was a cool moment. And, like you said, it's not something that you expect at the NFL Combine where, a lot of times the answers are as cookie cutter as they get. I thought that was a nice, real moment yesterday from J-Rob.
Yeah, and you're right. Everything is cookie cutter, right? Like we all want to know, you talk about Harold Landry, we talk about the potential of the O-line turning over. There's obviously the Tannehill questions, plus other guys coming back from injury. Like that's all boilerplate stuff. So I'm glad that, the question, I don't know how I would have broached the subject had we only had him at the podium, because, since we got him off to the side with just us where he's a little more comfortable, like I don't think there's any way that he tears up if he's on the podium in front of, 50 people, as opposed to the 12 of us who he knows and I assume feels more comfortable with. So I was glad that the Titans allowed us to do that, because that's how it used to be at the Combine when we go up there before COVID shut everything down.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's hard to get more than like a question in with the other setting. So apart from this, Chris, what was your big, or maybe 2 or 3 or whatever takeaways? Like, do you feel do you feel strongly about maybe the direction on this player or that player, or what did you think of the Tannehill discussion? What are your takeaways other than you being able to reduce people to tears?
The only thing I guess that I gleaned that was interesting and not, I guess, something that I already figured what the answer would be was when they talked about Ben Jones. I asked Vrabel about, or someone asked Vrabel about Ben Jones specifically, and the way he spoke about him was, with respect to his durability. And when you end a sentence or end a thought with, that's something I'll always respect about him, it seemed to me a little past tense. Now, I don't know if you picked up on that or not, but I'm curious. That was something that kind of ring true in my head, but I don't know. We'll see.
Agree. No, that absolutely. We talked about that earlier. I thought the same thing exactly.
Chris, what do you think of the Harold Landry situation? Obviously, you've got a lot of money invested in Bud Dupree. The franchise tag window is open for Harold Landry. You could come to a long-term deal as well. or you could let him walk and not commit that much money to Harold Landry. Where do you think the Titans are on that? And if you're John Robinson, how do you view that situation with the amount of money that would be required to pay Harold Landry this offseason?
Yeah, and without knowing specifically how to make all of the money work, because I'm not Vin Marino, but like, what was your best unit, your best group on the team this last season? It was the front four, and I mean by far. And so if I'm him, I'm doing everything I possibly can to keep those guys together no matter what it takes. That's the approach I would take.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought up Vin Marino. For people who don't know, I mean, he's the guy behind the scenes who has to make all this stuff work, and it's going to be. I mean, there's some gymnastics required for this team. What about the Tannehill discussion? There's a lot of, and I wasn't sure it would go there because it has been discussed. It's not like there was going to be any real news, but there turned out to be just a lot of discussion back and forth. I think in some cases, just because some of the people who were there, and I can speak for myself on that, really hadn't been able to talk about that stuff, especially with Robinson. But what did you think of the back and forth on number 17?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you about this is the first time we got to speak with J-Rob about Tannehill. And again, in our setting that we had off to the side, I thought he was way more forthright. And anytime you have a GM who's like spelled it out there, I'm pretty sure he said something like, look, we know he had some bad games, all right? And he knows he had some bad games. Like, you don't really hear that, especially not during the season. It's all, you know, putting a spin on the positive, and we know we have to do better. But, like, no one's ever, like, said during the season specifically, this guy had a bad game, and we know about that. So I thought there was some more honesty and forthright talk regarding him about this past season. Now, as far as, going forward for this year, like, we already knew that what the situation is. He's the guy. Although J-Rob did mention a little bit about, looking towards the future and trying to figure that out. But the rest of it was kind of boilerplate stuff. But I think it was interesting when he alluded to the fact that, look, he had some bad games. We know that.
Chris Harris from WSMV on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris, as you look at the draft, obviously not knowing what's going to happen with Harold Landry, and there's still some, cap decisions, free agent decisions that are going to have to be made before then. But as the team stands right now, what position of need are you looking at the most if you're John Robinson heading into the draft process with your first round pick?
Yeah. So before they make any cuts or free agent moves or whatever, right now, if I had to draft someone right this second, I think they got to go receiver. That's before anything happens, just because they need somebody. They need bodies. They got one for sure, likely two with Julio, and then that's it. So I think right now, before you make any moves, you go receiver. Now we'll see that obviously all could change based on free agency and what they decide to do with cap cuts. But that's what I'd say for right now, right this second.
Chris, if you had the choice between watching, an A-Sun quarterfinal or all of the best drills of the NFL Combine, which would you choose?
Well, I'm a hoops guy, so it would be A-Sun quarterfinal.
Oh, it was a loaded question. I know you're a hoops guy.
Okay, well, very good. And actually, there's a perk to being up this early in the morning because I turned on the TV, and on ESPNU right now is the 1991 NCAA semifinal game between Duke and UNLV. So I got my next hour and a half, 2 hours set.
That's right.
All-timer.
Very nice. Chris Harris from WSMV, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Chris, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Happy to do it anytime, guys. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You as well. Chris Harris from WSMV, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll come back. We'll react to what Chris had to say there. Got more of your thoughts on the Titans to get to on the other side as well. This is Robby and Rexrode. You're on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Every Wednesday, it's me, Jared Stillman, against Joe Rexrode for Jared versus Joe. Brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment. Visit ParmanTractor.com, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takauchi dealer.
Presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. The Goblet has dropped. Download it. Must be 21 and up.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
It was just so sparkly and just white. It's just the purest diamond.
That's Mallory Irvin, Miss America runner-up and 3-time contestant on The Amazing Race, talking about her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
It's my favorite thing I've ever owned in my life, and probably my favorite thing I ever will own unless I get another ring from Genesis.
Mallory has a stunning GIA certified diamond in a setting that Genesis custom designed just for her.
It was a personalized experience, and they really went above and beyond to make what we wanted to work.
At Genesis, unique rings are our specialty.
What's really awesome about Genesis, I think a lot of girls look at other girls' rings a lot, and you don't want the same ring as the girl sitting beside on an airplane or something. It's really awesome because Genesis has the designers I feel that women want.
Names like Henry Dossi, Viraggio, Tocori, and dozens more.
So you don't get that cookie cutter kind of chain store. My ring is beautiful, but it looks like everyone else's. You get an engagement ring that's one of a kind.
Genesis diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
I highly recommend Genesis.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
They're going to be our jewelers for life.
Hal Gill here for my good friends at Dunkin'. You know I love Dunkin', and I'm wicked happy that Dunks is all over Nashville. A newly remodeled next-gen Dunkin' location is at 1645 West Main Street in Lebanon. Of course, Dunks has the best coffee, but they have new spring items available as well. Try the salted caramel cream cold brew, shamrock macchiato made with Irish cream swirl, and the roasted tomato toast with hummus or avocado. They also have amazing chocolate croissants. So go treat yourself, go get your Dunks.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like the course keeps changing right before your eyes. And in order to maneuver it, you need an expert by your side. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PC and tech solutions you need to help you get out in front and stay ahead of the game. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Interact with Robby and Rexrode. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
We put a lot into this, Corey. We put a lot into it. We sacrifice time with our family, and we all know what we signed up for. And it's not, like I told the team, I feel worse for the players that are out there fighting, battling, far less than 100%. And I don't know if it's because I've been lucky enough to be on teams that have won it. I just know how special it'll be for those guys that can play and win a championship. So that's who I feel probably the most for. And we'll get back to work and put a team together that we believe in and hopefully believe in each other.
Thanks, Coach. That was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel discussing the pain of losing against Cincinnati. That on full display yesterday for the Titans, especially with John Robinson and his comments to Chris Harris. Thanks to Chris Harris for joining us in the last segment. The Nashville Predators in Bridgestone Arena appreciate and recognize military first responders and their families. Your company can help fund tickets for these heroes during Ford Military Week, the week of March the 7th. You can learn more about the Hero Salute program at NashvillePredators.com/military week. Joe, let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Got a texter that says, J-Rob and his crocodile tears aren't fooling me. He's still on the hot seat until he gets over the hump. This is coming from a texter on the text line. Still on the hot seat, that J-Rob.
Here's one thing about yesterday that I thought of is like Yeah, if they're like 2-4 next year or something or whatever, they're terrible loss, whatever it is. People are going to bring this up. It's an unfortunate reality, but people are going to bring cry a little bit more. I mean, that's just what it is, right? That's just what it is. So look, if you're a fan who's upset about this, bottom line is John Robinson's job is to build the best possible team you can have, and so I get it, but I would tend to agree with Chris. I mean, I think he's right that it's a show of confidence. I also, again, I personally just appreciate humans being humans. And if there's a suggestion there at all, like this is some sort of like act, like please don't be mad at me. That's not what it was. I mean, he got caught up in emotion, thinking about the opportunity they squandered, and put yourself in his shoes. If you're a Titans fan, you care deeply, and that was a killer. But I mean, if it's your job and your daily routine is trying to figure out how to build a team in a very tough league to win in, very tough league to get yourself to the end of a postseason, and you have that opportunity and it gets flushed like that, kick to the stomach that's going to leave a mark for a while.
Yeah, no question about it. And that was on full display yesterday from John Robinson. It was interesting to me that apparently you, me, and Chris all have the same view of the Ben Jones thing. Of it kind of felt like Vrabel was speaking in the past tense there. Now, again, maybe Vrabel just talking. I don't know. But I've always thought that Ben Jones would be a guy that they probably want to bring back. And I don't know. It just kind of felt like those comments with Vrabel yesterday signaled to me that he could be gone.
Right. Now they'll sign him and Vrabel, be like, what are you guys talking about? Just saying I admired it. What are you talking about here? But yes, no, totally. And so, and honestly, so I was right to the right of Vrabel. Okay. So I asked a question about Ben Jones and he's given that answer. And at the very end, again, this could be totally me jumping to conclusions, but when he said that very last thing, I always admire, he kind of like shot a look at me, which I almost took like, do you get this? He's not coming back. So if he doesn't come back, then that's all excellent analysis and really being a keen observer. And if they do sign him, then again, what an idiot. Don't ever listen to me.
See, Vrabel loves you. He gave you the look.
No, it has nothing to do with that, but it's just sort of like, you're going to ask me about Ben Jones, here's read between the lines here. By the way, Vrabel, speaking of loving media, was asked, Glennon did ask him, why do your press conferences stink? Huh?
Yeah.
And he was basically like, I was talking about me. So unfortunately, he did not start singling us out for why all of us contribute to the suckiness of the press conferences.
Rexrode, his hair is all out of whack, and everybody other than Teresa can't ask a question the right way. It's just it's unbelievable. I was really hoping he'd go down that road.
Terry McCormick has a Commodore 64.
Yes.
With an antenna trying to do Zoom calls.
I was really hoping he'd go down that road, but he didn't. But doesn't that make you feel better? Vrabel's not ripping at you. He was ripping at himself.
Yeah, but I kind of was hoping. I was hoping for more than that. We need to get a feud going here.
Beautiful stuff. The J-Rob thing is interesting to me because, as you mentioned, Jared was talking about on his show yesterday how maybe the emotions are him just thinking about the Tannehill contract and how he signed Tannehill to a deal. I don't think it was quite that. Oh no, he's our quarterback. Which again, I am sure, at least I would hope that if you're John Robinson, you're thinking somewhat differently about Ryan Tannehill and the quarterback spot after what we saw last year, and particularly in that game. But I don't think that's why he was emotional yesterday. It just signaled to me like this is a general manager who knows what type of team they had this past year, who knows that you had home field advantage throughout the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl, and you let an opportunity just totally get away from you. And, I think John Robinson is going to be a general manager in the league for a long time. I think he's going to be a general manager here for a long time, but you never know how many opportunities, how many kicks at the can you get at it. And I think by most accounts, this Titans team had a real chance this past season to do something special, to end up in the Super Bowl, maybe to win a Super Bowl, and to have the game play out against Cincinnati the way that it did is obviously really disappointing. I thought one of the other things that he talked about that was interesting that they continue to make a theme was, yes, the turnovers that you had were disappointing if you're Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, but he also talked about how Cincinnati's defense was really good at forcing turnovers down the stretch in key moments. And that's something that Vrabel's talked about a lot. You heard John Robinson talk about it yesterday. The idea of your defense forcing more turnovers, that continues to be a point of emphasis for the Titans.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there's a lot of, they usually go hand in hand. That it's like, and even after the game, Vrabel's like, well, 3 turnovers. But by the way, basically, like, how do you sack someone 9 times and not get one that way? So both things are points of emphasis. On the whole, in all seriousness, on the Tannehill thing, and again, this is where Caroline, like I'm sorry, Caroline, but like this was the big picture. Oh my God, we had this incredible opportunity. He said, he's talking about like that place was rocking. We had another one. It was the lost opportunity. If you want to get serious about Tannehill and really dig in on Tannehill and John Robinson, let's go back to 6 games into 2019, because we know how things work in this league. And that was the 4th season for John Robinson. It was the 2nd season for Mike Vrabel, who it had been fine. He had a pretty good debut season. Didn't make the playoffs, but like it was pretty promising. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, we can see why you hired Vrabel. 2-4, worst offense in the league. Look, if that season goes the same way it was going, John Robinson's job absolutely could have been up for serious discussion.
Yeah.
By Amy Adams Strunk and who she talks to about decisions like that. Don't fool yourself for a minute. Ryan Tannehill, you could absolutely argue, saved his job. Ryan Tannehill is a huge part of why John Robinson is here today, lamenting a team that was a number 1 seed that should have gotten to the Super Bowl. So let's keep that in mind. That says nothing about what he did. It was terrible. And the doubts about Tannehill moving forward, totally fair. But if you really think Robinson's like, 17, what have I done? Dude, that's why he's here. Sure, if we could all go back in time, I would think differently about the Tom Brady thing. I thought 2 years ago, I didn't think we'd see great football from Tom Brady. That's my mistake. Maybe John Robinson thought the same thing. It's also taken a leap or two to believe that this was where Brady wanted to go.
Yeah.
But they made their choice. And you still have to keep in mind what that did for the trajectory of the franchise. No matter where it goes from here, it completely turned around that season. And, of course, leads to the AFC Championship game. And we know what happened since then. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's one of those things, too, where, again, it's tough to separate the overall picture from what we just saw the last time out. I still think John Robinson has done a really nice job for the most part. And like the idea that he's on the hot seat right now, I just think is kind of laughable. Henry on the text line says, I believe John Robinson will put a good team together and will do so in the future as well, but he cannot play the game. So get off of John. We all know that any general manager can do better than they're doing, but he's doing a good job so far. So yes, there's always room for improvement. Like no GM has a 100% hit rate. Now, to the point of the John Robinson detractors, I guess at the moment, the drafts have got to get better. The last couple of drafts have not been good to this point, and they got to get better. Like you can't continue to operate that way and think that you're going to be competitive down the line.
Well, I agree. Now, that's another thing we haven't really talked about yet from yesterday is 2 guys from last draft who could make the 21 draft look better, in retrospect. Christian Fulton has helped a little bit with the 20 draft, right?
Sure.
But, those two rookies who did basically nothing last year, they are both huge individual storylines for the 2022 Titans. That's what you have to have. You have to be able to fine, productive player. So it has to be better this year in terms of immediate impact, but maybe from the 21 draft, they've got a couple guys who are actually going to make a difference.
We'll continue the discussion on the Titans. Take more of your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. I've also got some tickets to give away coming up on the other side as well. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. The Goblet has dropped. Download it. Must be 21 and up.
This is Dan. Dan uses Navy Federal Credit Union to save and invest. Luckily for him, Navy Federal takes the legwork out of managing his money, which gives Dan time to work on other things, like his new auctioneering hobby. If you want to be like Dan, learn about our savings and investment options at NavyFederal.org/save and invest. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Bidder number 63.
Savings products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA.
Are you sick of your dead-end job? Do you crave a career with a better work-life balance, better lifestyle, or maybe you'd like to work from home? It's a new year. Time for a new career in IT. At My Computer Career, you could start your career in months, not years. Attend classes day or night, live online. And we've rolled back tuition to help meet the demand for IT workers. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
While the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team gold medal victory is known as the Miracle on Ice, the 1960 team was considered just as big of an underdog. Team USA beat the top 4 seeds, Canada, the Soviet Union, Sweden, and Czechoslovakia twice. In their final game of the tournament, they found themselves down 4-3 to Czechoslovakia after 2 periods. They scored 6 straight goals in the 3rd period to win 9-4 to win the gold.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
When there's a chance for gold, you need to have the right people in the right positions. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Saturday.
One-on-one. Pippen drives around and scores. Give him the bucket and one.
Vanderbilt wraps up their regular season in Oxford against Ole Miss. Coverage begins at 4:30 on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025, The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Titans. Go to our 1025 The Game phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in Sean, who wants to weigh in. Sean, thanks for calling in to Robby and Rexrode.
How's it going, fellas? Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been having a thought every draft, every year for the last 2 or 3 years. It's not a huge deal. I understand Robinson's trying to find specific draft picks that fit in with, he's always looking for, good work ethic and attitude and all those intangibles they're always talking about. Why not just, give it a go on this guy's better than everyone else at his position and just take it instead of trying to microanalyze it so much to the point of, I think that's why he's missing on so many of them is take the best guy at his position if available and run with that once or twice and see how that works. And that's all I got. I just wanted to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Hey, thanks for the call, Sean. Look, I think that there are ingredients that the Titans appreciate that they feel like are important. I think they value toughness, both physically and mentally. I think they value players that, quote unquote, love football and want to play hard, all these things. I think they value those things. I don't think the Titans are sitting there saying, you know what, this guy over here is a really good player, but we're going to pass on him because we really like the attributes this other guy brings to the table. Like, I still think the most important thing the Titans are looking at is, do they think a guy can play, and do they think a guy can play at a high level? Do they value those other things? Sure. And that's part of what, the pre-draft interview stuff is about, is trying to figure out, all right, well, this is a good prospect. We feel like this is a player that can help our team. What are they like? What's their work ethic like? What do their coaches say about them? What does the tape tell us in terms of the way that they play the game? But I don't think that the Titans are sitting here actively trying not to pick the best player available to them. Now, look, you can disagree with, going for the best player available. Like, there are some people that say, Greg Newsome was right there at corner and you picked Caleb Farley, who was hurt and had barely played cornerback in his career. Why didn't you just take Greg Newsome? Like, I have time for those arguments. Like, I think you can argue with some of the picks that they've had and some of the draft picks that they've used, but I don't think the Titans are sitting there, passing on good players because they feel like other guys match their culture better.
Yeah, look, I mean, I will say that Vrabel yesterday was kind of asked about the interviews and stuff like that. And he had like a comment, something about, do you get a second date, referring to after you do the initial interviews, then do you want to continue the process? And I mean, he said, like, a lot of guys get eliminated like that, basically, so does that mean in that process you're eliminating some people who could be really helpful to your football team? Probably. But I mean, look, I think you have to look at what they've done. They just squandered a huge opportunity. They've also found some consistency here. They also have had, they've had some weird, some losses and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's a consistency, and there's certainly a toughness in games, and battling back in games, like some of the wins they had last year, that I think you would have to point to the intangibles there with some of that. And I Vrabel played in the league. Vrabel highly values, and I say Vrabel, I mean, I think Vrabel and Robinson together, but he, he's been on these NFL teams, and he highly values, like, what I like to call just like a good work environment, because everybody uses the term culture.
Yes.
But take it to anything you do. How much more productive, successful, efficient, whatever you want to call it, is a workplace where people aren't pointing the finger at each other and worrying about who gets the credit, and actually getting along and having real conversations and all that stuff. And he puts a high value on that, and I don't think he's wrong. But there is a balance too. Sometimes it's like, I mean, the dude runs a 4.2.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that football player is just too good. And if you're strong enough, this is what I've said before. Well, even like with Julio Jones last year, which it turns out to be overblown, I believe, or at least it hasn't materialized here. But if you do have a strong place like that, like let's say maybe the Rams with Odell Beckham coming in, then you should also be able to add someone who's super talented, who maybe hasn't had that reputation, but then you fold it in and say, hey, this is how we do things here. These are our leaders. Come in and let's win.
Well, exactly. Like if your culture or work environment, or whatever term you want to use, if that can be ruined by one person coming into a football team, then your culture or work environment is probably not that strong to begin with.
It's overrated.
Right? Yeah,
it's overrated.
So I think that's a great point. Let's go back to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says, why are people saying that he keeps missing? Sure, he's had some bad ones, but so does every GM. Simmons, Byard, Landry, A.J. Brown, the list goes on and on of good picks. Derrick Henry, I would throw into that list as well. I think the point, though, is the first rounders, right? Like, the first rounders have got to get better. I mean, we're talking about Rashaan Evans probably not being here next year. Jeffrey Simmons has been great. That was I guess somewhat of a risky pick at the time based on the fact that he had been injured, and that probably caused him to fall further than he normally would, but that's worked out really well for the Titans. And then there's Isaiah Wilson, and we'll see about Caleb Farley. Interested to hear thoughts on him yesterday as well from John Robinson and Mike Grable. But the first round part of this has got to get better. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But yes, the entire picture of the draft, there have been a whole lot of hits in there as well.
to the point of Sean's call, by the way, let's go to Simmons, because I mean, to me, that was, now they'd done the interviews and I think they felt good about things, but still, like, Jeffrey Simmons was not far removed from the incident in high school where he hit a woman several times. And I know that there's a whole story to that, and she was fighting his sister and all that stuff. But like, Jeffrey Simmons was officially a quote unquote character concern coming into the NFL because of that. And it was a very controversial, when he went into Mississippi State. I mean, I still remember Dan Mullen, SEC Media Days, giving a 14-minute and 38-second opening statement so he could not have Jeffrey Simmons questions asked of him. But anyway, so there's an example of, to me, like, they looked at Jeffrey Simmons, the player, and also like the value. He was hurt and he drops them, but it's like, okay, like, that's just an incredible football player. I mean, you're still going for talent. And yes, to the point about Robinson in the draft, I mean, if you are a total John Robinson stan, you can go look at his history as a GM and you've convinced yourself he's the greatest GM ever. And if you're totally down on him, you can find plenty of mistakes. To me, like, tell me what the record of the team is and what they've done when a GM is in place. That's a very easy way to judge a GM.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just think back to the Jeffrey Simmons situation, just the model of ethics, Dan Mullen getting up there talking. It's always fun to think about that stuff. It's great.
Oh, man. He was a BSer then. He's a BSer now. Good coach, though.
Yeah, good coach. Nate on the text line says, how would we judge J-Rob's draft skills if another player ends up being great, but has more off-the-field problems that ends up with another cut? So I guess going back to the Isaiah Wilson situation, I think statistically the odds of you having another Isaiah Wilson situation are pretty low.
This brings up another opportunity to rip Jared, the president of the Tannehill Tattletales.
Yes.
So, I just saw this on Twitter yesterday. So John Robinson, the quote I just mentioned, which was, it's hard to get a second date. And then Jared quote tweeted like, how did Isaiah Wilson get a second date? Well, look, we've talked about this, but to quickly summarize that situation, we had Isaiah Wilson on a Zoom call shortly after the draft. He was incredible. He was awesome. He was a fantastic personality. I was like, oh, this guy's going to be great. Not to mention his physical ability. The process, the vetting, the talking to people at Georgia, all that stuff. It did not predict what was going to happen with Isaiah Wilson off the field, which largely had to do with just basically being out of control off the field. So, look, it's a huge missed opportunity. It's a huge hole where you could have so many different people in the first round.
But it's a hole they're still paying for. I don't think there's any question about it. Yep.
No question. And I'm not sitting here saying you can't give them any blame at all. Okay. I mean, I guess talk to more people, find the person at Georgia who could have predicted this, but they all say they couldn't have. There was some, he didn't show up for a workout like in Houston. So there was some little things in there, but look, that was a situation where it went wrong after he got paid and got to Nashville. So the idea that you go back in retrospect and say, man, those interviews, how did you, I bet you he destroyed the interviews. I bet you he knocked them out of the park because he has that kind of personality.
Adam in Portland on the text line says, your head coach is coach of the year, but the GM is on thin ice. Get out of here. No, he's not. We're bored. We need football back, boys. Adam taking issue with Titans fans who think that J-Rob's in the hot seat.
Right. Well, I agree with you, Adam. But here's the thing. It's not football season. If we had football season year round, I'm here for it. Great. I'll even watch some USFL games. But it's not football season. So I want to watch basketball and not underwear Olympics.
You're going to be watching those 40 times a day. It's going to happen.
I mean, if somebody runs like a 4:07, then I will find the tweet of it and watch the video of the 40.
You were live streaming the Rondale Moore vertical jump last year.
And Rondale Moore, the shuttle run. Oh my gosh.
It's pretty
Replayed it over and over and over.
I got some tickets to give away to see the Nashville Predators take on the Anaheim Ducks coming up at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday, March the 10th. Be caller number 5 at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win a pair of tickets to see the Preds take on the Ducks coming up next Thursday at Bridgestone Arena. We'll continue the conversation coming up on the other side. Got more of your thoughts to get to on our text line as well. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Lots of sunshine in store for us today. Temperatures heading back to the middle 70s this afternoon, and we stay in that territory for the rest of the work week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
Wow, I've got a whole 5 minutes before my next call. What should I do? Grab a snack? Nah. Text with mom? That's more than a 5-minute proposition. I have been looking at getting a new bank account. Is that even possible?
Can't believe you have extra time? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live-in-the-moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
The Electronic Express tax refund sale is going on now. Get huge savings in every department, including 4K TVs, mattresses, computers and tablets, housewares, smart home, and more. We have all of your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're going to sing it.
We're singing words now.
We'll even sing the business part.
Save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive.
Now that's a commercial you'll remember, even if you don't remember the bundle and save with Progressive part.
We're singing that commercial.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
This is the end of the jingle. A jingle about insurance.
So, what is Jared Stillman going to say this afternoon?
You got to play if you want to earn $14.6 million next year.
Oh, brother, here we go.
But I'm done on investing money in dudes that can't get on the field.
Tune in to Stillman and Company, weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
This is some serious stuff right here.
Delivered by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game.
ESPN 1025 The Game is Nashville's official home of NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 1:30 for the Pennzoil 400 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Also get set for the race with Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Dennis on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, said Harold Landry is Horace Grant, a good player on his own, but fantastic with Jordan and Pippen. He needs to realize he looks better with Simmons and Autry. This is coming from Dennis on the text line.
Okay.
Horace Grant, I like it.
Hey, man, Horace Grant, those Bulls teams, when he really got to where that 15 to 17 footer was automatic, I mean, He's a very underrated part of those teams. I don't hate that. Harold equals Horace. I do hate that we have to equate things to the freaking Bulls, who would lose by 20 to the Warriors of this era, Michelle. But that's fine.
I'm going to see the Bulls tonight in Atlanta.
Really?
And then driving back. So tomorrow morning, I will be.
That'll go well.
Very awake.
I got to make sure to come into the studio just to see this.
Yeah. There's some good stuff.
Pull an all-nighter?
Heck yeah. It's Friday. It's Thursday to Friday. Why not, right? We're young. We're only young ones.
Oh, to be young again. I'm not that young anymore. I'm dragging after staying up last night watching the Preds Kraken game. It's a bad day, man.
I could probably get Michelle to play like some uncut versions of like Dre songs tomorrow, you know?
Please don't. Could really be the last show of Robby and Rexrode.
Right. Good night, everybody. Ben Jones and Robby and Rexrode. Good night. We'll always admire you.
It's been a good run here on the program. The program has come to an end. Ron on the text line says, so the Titans will coddle and pacify Tannehill all season because we don't have anyone there to push him. He could be the same guy next year. He needs a guy behind him to push him. Well, who's behind?
Yeah.
Like, who's pushing him that's behind it? Like,
yeah. So I love this one too. And again, I think that there's in sports competition certainly is good. Okay.
Sure.
But if you think that Tannehill had a bad year last year and had a terrible playoff game because he's like complacent or, you know, and it's the same thing with Mariota. Like when Mariota was struggling, I heard a lot of that, like, get someone in there and say, you better win this job. It's like, he's just not good enough. Like he works hard. Like, you ask anybody in the building, Mariota's like in the weight room all day long. And he's doing everything you can do.
Skipping rocks out by the river to practice for game days on Sundays.
There
Good
you
stuff.
go. Very nice. Very nice. But seriously, like that's not the problem. The problem is, can Tannehill have the poise and the gumption in those pressure moments to make the plays and not make the bad plays? Being pushed by someone from behind is not going to make it. Now, have someone behind him because you may need to replace him. Sure. I mean, you'd love to have better depth at quarterback and an alternative to him if he doesn't play well. But this is not the product of complacency. Okay.
No, I don't. Look, I think everybody would recognize that Ryan Tannehill checks a lot of the boxes that you're looking for in a quarterback. You know, outside of you turning the ball over this year, not playing well in big moments. But I mean, the work ethic part of it and all that other stuff, I think he's pretty universally loved in that locker room and with that coaching staff. And as we know, if you don't do that stuff, you're not going to go well with Mike Vrabel. So I don't think that's an issue with Ryan Tannehill. Like the idea of bringing somebody in to push him, it's like, okay, I hear you. Number one, how much money are you wanting to spend on a backup quarterback? And number two, like, who is that guy? Like, are you bringing Marcus Mariota back in here to try to push Ryan Tannehill? Who's the guy? I mean, he could be a draft pick, but again, and unless you're moving up in the draft, you're probably not drafting a quarterback that you want to start right away. So it's not, even that's not pushing Ryan Tannehill. This is your potential, maybe eventual replacement for Ryan Tannehill. So I don't know what you do to push Ryan Tannehill. Like, to me, if you're making a quarterback move, you're bringing in somebody that's unquestionably better than Ryan Tannehill, and that's not going to happen.
Right. So, like it or not, I mean, the story of the 2022 Tennessee Titans, if it's the story you want to hear, if it's what you want to see, is going to be the story of the redemption of Ryan Tannehill. I get it if you're not comforted by that, but it's where things are.
Yeah. Billy in Columbia texting in says, Tannehill is a confidence player. When his confidence is high, he can lead this team wherever he wants to. Get hit like he did last year, and it struggles. We've got to keep the pieces around him and keep his confidence high. It's coming from Billy on the text line.
I think that's a good analysis. I mean, look, I think some things around him last year, we've gone over this ad nauseum week after week. Broke down, weren't good enough. He's got to respond better too, though. So I think we've learned that Tannehill, it doesn't have to be perfect around him, because he makes plays on some loose plays. Sometimes he makes plays with his feet. He's made some big time throws after extending plays and things like that. It's not like Kirk Cousins, for example. Kirk Cousins, give him a clean pocket. He's probably going to throw you an accurate pass and move the ball down the field. Disrupt that at all, it might not go well for you. Tannehill is a little bit more of a playmaker, but still, things need to be a lot better around him than they were last year. Can the Titans get them there? I don't know.
Got a text, Scott from Goodlettsville texting in, says, why the bashing of Tannehill for not being elite or Hall of Fame worthy, yet the media fawns over Pekka, who has no Stanley Cup and maybe even not a Hall of Famer. Very hypocritical. This coming from Scott in Goodlettsville. That's quite the flex.
Wow. There's a take.
Yeah. Well, first off, you want to talk about being elite. He's got more wins than any other Finnish goalie of all time. He's in like the top. He's one of the best goalies to ever play the game in some categories. He won a Vezina Trophy, which is literally the definition of elite because you're the best goalie in the league that year. He is a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's going to get in or not. I would probably lean no to him getting into the Hall of Fame. But Pekka was a top player at his position for several years, for most of his career. That's a little bit different than Ryan Tannehill.
Yes. Also, on the start of that, he's saying ripping him for not being a Hall of Famer. They're ripping him for throwing 3 picks in a playoff game. I mean, that wasn't, not quite a Hall of Famer, just, a little bit more, a little Aaron Rodgers, little Brady, you get over the hump. It was you threw 3 picks. The first play of the game. The other team, they'll win in regulation. So I'm sorry, but this is not, he's not quite a Hall of Famer. This is, you totally botched an incredible opportunity.
Well, and look, to be fair, is he good enough to win a Super Bowl? I think that's a part of this equation is Ryan Tannehill good enough to win a Super Bowl?
And by the way, real quick, Pekka Rinne was good enough to win a Stanley Cup and was within 2 wins of it.
Do we not think that Pekka was good enough? Just because you don't win one, Phillip Rivers to me was good enough in his prime to win a Super Bowl. He didn't do it.
Steve McNair. He came a yard short.
Steve McNair was good enough to win a Super Bowl. He didn't do it. Is Ryan Tannehill good enough to win a Super Bowl? Maybe. I mean, it's hard to I think convince a lot of people of that based on what we've seen in the playoffs the last few times out, but maybe he is. But again, Pekka was an elite player at his position for a decade. It's a much different conversation.
Right. Basically, I'm trying to think who would be the quarterback equivalent of Pekka Rinne. Absolute top, he's top 5 goalie in the league for an extended stretch.
Yeah.
Maybe Rivers, I guess. That's not a terrible. Although I don't even know that. I think it'd be even higher on the goalie food chain than Rivers was at QB, maybe.
Well, it's so different though, because I think Phillip Rivers is going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think that Pekka probably will. I think he's got a chance, but I don't think he ultimately will end up getting in there. So it's a different comparison from that stretch. But the point is, how many years has Ryan Tannehill been thought of as an elite quarterback? I mean, I guess you could make an argument in, 2020 as he's out there slinging the ball. And, we started talking about comparing his stats to Patrick Mahomes over the course of the last couple of years. Maybe some people put him in that category, but it's not even remotely comparable to me.
Well, I mean, he was an MVP candidate, and he was actually discussed outside of Nashville for a few weeks of that season. But yeah, that's a fleeting glimpse compared to what Pekka Rinne was over a long period of time.
JD on the text line says, I've always been a Tannehill fan while he's been here with the Titans. However, it seems more often than not when the brightest lights come on, Tannehill looks like a deer in headlights. I don't consider him that much ahead of Andy Dalton at this point. He took a large step back this year and just didn't seem to be in tune mentally. I was fooled also, but I'm really not sure what else is out there for the Titans to grab. So it looks like he'll be here for at least another year. I mean, he's going to be here for another year. There's no question about it.
Yes. Ryandy Daltahill. That's not the worst comparison.
No. Anytime you can use to say that name, you'll do it, huh?
I'd almost forgotten about it. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Mitch from Dixon texting in says Pekka equals Dan Marino. I don't know if I'd go that far, but
no. Dan Marino is, say he's the greatest quarterback to never win a Super Bowl, right? Yeah, I think that's quite clear. Yes. Dan Marino, I mean, some people, look, I know some people who are like, he's the best quarterback ever, period. I don't care what you say. Go watch him play. So it's not quite that.
That's kind of disrespectful to Dan Fouts, but yeah, I hear you.
Well, Dan Fouts
we're talking Dan's here.
Dan Fouts was Dan Marino before Dan Marino.
I know. That's what I'm talking about. Slinging that thing around.
They both ran 5.7 40s and could move like an inch in the pocket, but man, they had cannons.
We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode. You're on ESPN 1025, The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
A postseason win to remember. This is the Commodore Report. I'm Kevin Ingram. Vanderbilt women's basketball plays Florida today in the SEC tournament after the Commodores opened the event with an 85-69 win over Texas A&M at Bridgestone Arena. 5 players scored in double figures, led by Brene Alexander's 23, and Jordan Cambridge made VU history with a triple-double, 13 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. Got that last assist on Alexander's 5th three-pointer in the final minute.
They kind of like trapped me a little bit at half court, and Brene was wide open, so I just kicked it up. And I kind of watched the ball go in the air, like watching the shot go in. I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Vandy outscored A&M 29-10 in the opening quarter, got off to a good start, and then finished strong in recording the program's first SEC tournament win since 2016. And, of course, the first for head coach Shea Ralph.
We're peaking at the right time. You want to be playing your best basketball in March. This team did something special today. You could feel it on the court.
Game time today around 2:30 as Vanderbilt will try to top the number 23 Gators for the second time in 8 days. One more to go in the regular season for Vandy men's basketball on the road at Ole Miss. That'll be on Saturday. Big year for trips to Hawaii for Vanderbilt teams. Baseball made the long journey to Honolulu on Wednesday. The Doors and Rainbow Warriors play the first of 4 on Friday night. And in golf, Vanderbilt's Selena Saddlecow tied for 3rd at the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate Tournament over in Hilton Head. No comeback song needed, just a 1 under par 212 over 3 rounds. That's the Commodore Report on 102.5 The Game at ESPN 94.9.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops March 3rd through the 6th and schedule your custom fitting on the new arrivals from Callaway. Featuring the new Rogue ST drivers with tungsten speed cartridge, jailbreak speed frame, and AI flash face engineered for max speed and forgiveness. 4 drivers to fit every golfer's needs. Think speed, go Rogue. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com and schedule your free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
a Cromwell media station.
It's Robby and Rexrode with Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We're taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This has now somehow devolved into a analyzing Pecorine's postseason career conversation here on the program. I got a texture that says, I've been a Preds season ticket holder since day one and love Pekka, but he has multiple Game 7 blow-ups under his belt, leading to getting pulled. Was he clutch in the postseason besides the cup run? I think he has one Game 7 blow-up, and that was against Winnipeg. I don't really recall many other than that. I mean, look, were there times where he didn't have a great postseason? Sure. He was also, back in 2011, some of the best hockey I've ever seen a goaltender play, and it got him to the second round. And in a series where they had no business being in the game against Vancouver with the ice, with the team they iced out there, he was awesome. You know, in 2017, he was awesome. In do you think back to the Dallas series and think to yourself,
that's what I was going to bring up.
Pekka was the reason they lost there. Nobody could score a goal. Like, he was fine in that series. So
go back and watch Game 6 at Dallas, and tell me Pekka Rinne wasn't clutch in the postseason. He basically put a team on his back all night, and they finally won in overtime. But nah, he was the reason that series went 6 games.
So again, I don't want this to really devolve into a picking apart Pekka Rinne's postseason career show here on the program, but it's different.
Well, I will say this on, the Game 7. I mean, there's a little bit of, it's interesting because he had just taken them on that run. But that was a massive disappointment. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the one goal I clearly remember from basically like behind him, where it's like, oh boy,
it's brutal.
Yeah. But I mean, that was, hey, no doubt about it. That was a crushing. I mean, that was probably comparable, I guess, to like Tannehill's performance at quarterback against Cincinnati. Huge opportunity. The Preds could have won it all that year. The Titans could have won it all this year. The difference being that Pekka Rinne had done so much over time to prove himself already as a clutch performer in the postseason.
Go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Got a texture that says Ryan Tanniota. So the combo of Mariota Tannehill. Is that what we're going with now?
Can we do Ryan or Rikus?
Yeah.
Can we really mix it up? Dennis says the quote pick on Pekka crew is out.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? All viewpoints are welcome.
Well, there is and a texture pointed this out, Game 7 against San Jose as well, but
that was,
I don't know if that was much on him.
That was a lot more on the people in front of him. The Winnipeg was more on him for sure. San
Jose was potentially the worst that I have ever seen Roman Josi and Shea Weber play individually in their careers, and they both happened to do it at the same time. It's pretty incredible.
It really was. I was new. I was like, these guys are supposed to be awesome. Who are these? Guys are great.
What are these guys?
But I like this hot-headed goalie.
Yeah, back out there smashing his stick on the side of the goalpost. It was good times. William from Madison texting in says, the first-round picks have not been great since the team has been in Nashville. Before Robinson got here, I say Curse, Bullock, Hainsworth when he was playing for a contract, Johnson, and Lewan were great first-round picks, and none of them are Hall of Famers. This coming from William from Madison on the text line.
That's probably true on the Hall of Fame point. Yeah, the first round is definitely just John Robinson. I mean, Conklin, the good category for sure. You have Conklin and Simmons.
Sure.
I'd put Corey Davis. Corey Davis is one of those, like, he was a good player. He wasn't the number 5 pick. So how do you judge that? Probably a notch below Conklin and Simmons, but still, like, he was worth considering a second deal. It didn't work out, but it wasn't like Rashaan Evans where it's like, good luck, or some of obviously the real bad ones like Isaiah Wilson.
He was nowhere near worth where he was drafted.
No, true. Close. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. So to your point, he's a good player.
Yeah, like, so if you get a good football player, that's like the Corey Davis thing is like, so AJ Brown should have gone where Corey Davis went, and Corey Davis should have gone where AJ Brown went. Well, you drafted them both, so if you put that together, hey, nice receiver drafting, Yeah.
Now you could be looking for another one.
You got plenty of options. That's where I'd go.
There's plenty of options out there. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Santa in Portland texting in says, you can create stats to support any personal bias. As an example, Ryan Tannehill has been in the Super Bowl just as many times as Karen Rodgers over the course of the past 10 years. This coming from Santa in Portland. There you go. I guess not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so that means what?
I guess he's just saying, like, if you can make any stat look the way you want to, like Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Tannehill have been to the same amount of Super Bowls the past 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Yeah, that's true. I mean, the QB as a win stat is already problematic, but then if you do just that, man,
well,
you can really simplify things.
The QB is a win stats about to be why Mitch Trubisky is going to be the quarterback of the Colts coming up, 29-21 in his career. Keep that in mind.
Won a lot more than he lost. Who wouldn't want that? Colts fans.
Joe, you were obviously up in Indy yesterday for the combine. What were some takeaways that you had in terms of maybe some clues on players coming up, whether they be under contract right now, potential cap casualties, or free agents that are out there, like a Harold Landry, like a Ben Jones? What were some of your takeaways as to some clues that maybe John Robinson and Mike Vrabel offered yesterday to what they could do this offseason?
This is purely my, as I wrote, irresponsible speculation. I'll absolutely engage in some. I feel less convinced that Harold Landry will be back. Not that I don't feel like they don't want him back. You know, some of their comments yesterday could be just preparing you all in case it doesn't work out. You know, he relied on others and all that stuff. But I think if they felt great about Harold Landry being a part of this team, maybe some answers would be a little bit different yesterday. I definitely feel less convinced that Ben Jones is back. I mean, like the Vrabel quote on that, I agree with like Chris Harris. We all have the same sort of take on that. It's like, gosh, okay, goodbye, Ben Jones. We'll always appreciate you. I definitely continue to feel like Zach Cunningham. And again, this is where I'm to me, it's like Landry's got to be here. Cunningham would be nice, but sounds to me like they're resolved that Cunningham's coming back. I'm trying to think of who else would be. I mean, those are the big ones, you know, as far as decisions that face them. There was also, we haven't really talked about, there were quite a few questions about drafting, you know, a QB. And, you know, Robinson basically was like, there are some years, basically, yeah, they're going to be prepared. He didn't rule it out at all, as he shouldn't. But I mean, he did make the point. Some years where you're picking and there's quarterbacks that are like, they're going 1, 2, 3, and there's no real reason, right, to really investigate guys like that when you know team A, TB, whoever, like, okay, Jacksonville's taking Trevor Lawrence or whatever, right?
Sure.
But this year it makes sense to do your homework, and who knows? I mean, he didn't rule it out. So there's that too for the Tannehill, like, please get someone behind Tannehill. It's possible if they, again, to me, that has to be this quarterback right here is the future of the Tennessee Titans. Not, hey, let's try to get a quarterback and see what we can do. Like, it's this quarterback, Malik Willis or Carson Strong, whoever it might be that they could get. This is the future of the franchise. And if you do that, well, you're not going to be as great around Tannehill as you want next year, but you also could be setting yourself up because look, it's like the 49ers right now. I mean, their model is you got to do this with a quarterback on a rookie deal, and it makes it so much easier to do it and build a great team around him.
We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Welcome more of your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Coming up next as well, well, I think John Robinson's comments yesterday may have also signaled the end for a 2020 draft pick. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Do you have that one person or thing that just makes you mad? Join us every Friday at noon on the DDC for You Just Made the List. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution, and try Star Movie on the DDC on ESPN 1025 The Game.
You just made the list!
Save lives and score big with Middle Tennessee's community blood supplier, Blood Assurance. Donate at Blood Assurance locations in Cool Springs, Columbia, Clarksville, or Hermitage between February 21st and March 6th, and you will be entered to win 2 tickets to the Nashville Predators game against the St. Louis Blues on Saturday, March 12th at Bridgestone Arena. Blood Assurance is giving 4 sets of tickets away.
To schedule your appointment, visit bloodassurance.org/schedule. Thank you for being someone's hero.
Tune in to ESPN 1025 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution, and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
This Saturday, Tint World at 500 South Main Street in Goodlettsville is having their customer appreciation party. Check out their vinyl wraps, paint protection film, alarms, stereos, remote starter, ceramic coating, and more. Customize your ride at Tint World.
If you're looking for inspiration and impact this International Women's Day, don't miss the annual Women's Leadership Summit on Tuesday afternoon, March 8th at Ozari Event Center in West Nashville. You'll learn from, connect with, and grow among powerhouse women from diverse fields while building a solid future for girls in our community. The Women's Leadership Summit is powered by Nashville nonprofit Play Like a Girl and includes panel discussions, informal mentoring moments, a very special executive auction, and cocktails. Visit iplaylikeagirl.org or call 615-601-1864.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Robby and Rexrode on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
I am joined now by a man who needs no introduction. He is the NFL's Coach of the Year from the 2021 season, and he is one of the most successful coaches in the business over the time he has spent with the Tennessee Titans. Let's welcome in Mr. Mike Vrabel.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's so cool to be back in Indy, and I know you have such a affinity for this place, not only being a head coach, but an assistant coach, but also a player who competed at the Combine. What was your Combine experience, and do you have any memories from that?
Well, it was good. I roomed with Orlando Pace. So when you room with the number one overall pick, your phone rings a lot. And Orlando decided to go home, and he didn't want to get an MRI or something, so they kept calling the room. I'm like, guys, I really think he went back home to Columbus.
Before text message,
he's not here.
Like, no.
He's not here. So you can keep calling this room, but I know that he's not here. And so, when you're the number one overall pick, you're just like, I'm going to go home and wait for the draft.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then obviously as a Pro Football Hall of Famer, you're the Coach of the Year right now as we head towards the
Is that something that carries over? Like it's like is it like a
right? Like
the reigning is that actually a thing? I don't
like,
know.
Do you get like a badge, like a logo? I don't know.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You get nothing.
Speech was good.
Early exit from the playoffs.
It was Mike Vrabel earlier this morning on Good Morning Football alongside Pete Schrager. A little chummy there with Pete Schrager. What do you think of that, Rexrode? Maybe he does like talking to other people more than you.
Tone down the fanboy a little bit, Schrager. Yeah, what's up with that, Vrabel? Cheating on the Nashville Media Corps, being all friendly and joking around. Then you come with us, you're just dropping F-bombs under your breath. My gosh.
It's a beautiful sight. Shout out to Mike Vrabel. He was on there for like 8 minutes this morning.
Yeah.
On Good Morning Football. Taking up some airtime.
Nice.
Yeah, good for him.
This is, you go to one of these events, you talk to all these people. I mean, just in 2 days, I talked to a million people. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got the question, like, what about Vrabel? And I always say, hey, if we could take Vrabel in his general life, or
yes,
Vrabel on the practice field, and we could just make that be, speaking to media Vrabel,
yes,
it would be glorious. I'm like, I just want one time to secretly tape the practice field and get it on tape and just run the whole audio. Maybe like my last day in the job, Don't tell Robby Bourne I said that though.
Yeah.
So last day of the job, I'll just put like, here's the Vrabel my greatest hits of Vrabel on the practice field. Outstanding stuff.
Just let that thing fly out there.
So creative,
Beautiful stuff. So, Joe, there was a comment made yesterday, a very short comment that we discussed a little bit earlier that has me thinking that the future of a certain 2020 draft pick may be in jeopardy. And that, of course, is Darrynton Evans. We've talked a lot about him. I think if you're a Titans fan over the last couple of years, it's been easy at times to forget that Darrynton Evans has been a part of the team. He was a third-round pick. He's had a ton of injury issues ever since he came in. He was hurt the whole year this past year and didn't play for the Titans. He was asked about that. John Robinson was asked about that yesterday, and basically his response was, yep, he was hurt the whole year long, didn't play for us. And that was all he had to say about Darrynton Evans. Did the way that J-Rob answered that question signal to you that maybe Darrynton Evans is not even going to get another look this training camp, but that he could already be done with the Titans?
Yeah, I kind of took that. Now, there is some important context on that. I want to say they had already called last question. And this was because that happens a lot, right? Last question, one more. I mean, Robby yesterday, Robby Bourne, I just mentioned him. I think for Vrabel's like, okay, one more question. The question got asked. Then someone asked a question. One more question. Then someone asked a question. Another question. One more question. It happens. But they said last question. And so you got like probably 10 people trying to yell at a question. And this guy got his voice. I don't know who it was. I wasn't familiar with him. But he boomed it out. What about Darrynton Evans? So it was sort of like, we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is important to keep in mind. And all that said, yeah, you still could have said, but hey, we really would love to see Darrynton get healthy and or whatever. Like you could have thrown that in there too. And it was more like, yep, he's hurt. So I am less convinced. And honestly, I thought they'd give him another chance. I've kind of changed on that from yesterday.
Well, so what are they going to do at running back? Because we've talked about the Foreman part of this. A lot of Titans fans want to keep D'Onta Foreman. I understand why, but I do wonder, like, how much money did D'Onta Foreman make himself for the way he played this year? There's Dontrell Hilliard, who obviously at the end of the year, he supplanted Jeremy McNichols as the third down back for the Titans. So I would think that would be somebody they would like to bring back into the fold here. So what do you do at running back outside of Derrick Henry, of course, if Darrynton Evans is not going to be a part of the plans, and who knows what the money looks like for D'Onta Foreman?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think you're right. I think Hilliard is here. That's the one thing I feel good about. I think Hilliard is here, and I think that he is versatile enough. The thing is, Foreman certainly gets more attention, and Foreman was a better runner. I think Hilliard might be the bigger find here for the Titans. And this, again, it kind of goes along with the Nick Westbrook-Akina conversation. Yeah, that's right. It's been a long time since I brought up my buddy NWI.
Number 2 wide receiver next year.
Yeah, when Vrabel volunteers things about how players are working behind the scenes, pay attention to it. He doesn't do it much. He did it with Hilliard. He's done it with Westbrook-Akina a lot. That matters. Again, like earlier caller about culture and personality and fit and all those things. He puts a high value on that. And I think you can look at a lot of results individually and team-wise in sports and see why he values it. I think Hilliard's here. Is it Hilliard is a third down back and they want to try to re-sign Foreman? I mean, do you go out and try to, just find an undrafted rookie? Do you look more like Hilliard is your backup? He's good enough to do that. And McWeapon, the trusty McWeapon back in the fold. I don't know, but yeah, I kind of thought it would be Hilliard Evans, and now I don't.
Yeah, I thought those were interesting comments from John Robinson yesterday. And then the question becomes like, if you're Foreman, obviously this is a situation that you're familiar with. You've been with the Titans now a couple of different times. I just wonder for him what the market looks like out there. Like, is there somebody out there that's willing to make Deontay Foreman their starting running back, or at least split carries, because you have to know if you're Foreman, if Derrick Henry is fully healthy, you're not splitting carries. It's not going to happen. Derrick Henry is going to get most of the carries, even if the Titans do change their approach with him a little bit and he, has a reduced workload. You're still talking about Derrick Henry getting most of the carries. A lot of teams in the NFL don't operate that way. They've got, a lead back, and it's not exactly even, but there's a lot of a two-back system around the league, and the Titans are different in that regard.
Yeah, and then from the Titans' perspective, I can see how they would look at it and say, look, Derrick Henry is the guy coming back. He is just coming off his first significant major injury. It'd be awfully nice to have a similar type of back in this offense, the way we do things, who now knows the system, and also someone who you give Derrick a series off here, series off there, and it's the same kind of power running attack. So maybe that's part of the whole picture of the money that they want to spend, as they've said, you know what, Foreman's important. And just Robinson was asked about him. And again, we are reading into statements that they can be read incorrectly, but the fact that he never said anything like we'd like him back, he just said, man, he really took advantage of his opportunity. I don't know. I'm probably overreading into things.
Dennis on the text line says, are you still high on Marcus Johnson? I mean, it's difficult for me to be high on Marcus Johnson because he can't stay healthy.
Marcus Johnson's really good. Marcus Johnson is good enough to help this team. Marcus Johnson has not been able to stay healthy, and he's just had various soft tissue injuries. So that'll be interesting. I think it's probably worth considering having him in the mix for sure. But how do you rely on that? We haven't talked about Julio Jones either. I mean, Robinson was asked about him.
Yep.
And he basically he's asked, Glennon was pushing on the health thing, like how discouraging is it? How can you have confidence? And he didn't really, I took his, he didn't to me hint at them wanting to move on from Julio. I don't really think that's a big thing. Maybe it is though, because again, I'm trying to find the money for different things they might do. It's easier to find money if Harold Landry's not occupying a lot of money, but I think Julio Jones is going to be back next year. And then nothing that happened yesterday makes me think differently.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Keith texting in says, y'all sound like Karnak the Magnificent this morning, translating these quotes. Ask Rexrode in parentheses.
Oh, yes.
I can't say I'm familiar with that one.
Little Tonight Show, little Johnny Carson. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It really is. It's what you have. I mean, that's what football season is in early March. It's some dudes running around and lifting weights, and reporters, going to the bar and then crowding around GMs and coaches and trying to guess what they really mean. Awesome stuff. This is why it's basketball season, everybody.
Well, don't forget hand size. A lot of talk about hand size too.
Yeah. Have we gotten into that yet? Have we have some hand measurements yet?
I don't think so.
Kenny Pickett's little doll hands. Are they the talk of Indy yet?
Kenny, are you able to even grip a football? Can you throw one?
Do you need a baby fork for
that? Just incredible.
I'm sorry that we're ripping on Kenny Pickett, but
it's not us. Everybody's talking about his hand size.
I feel bad though. We made a joke at his expense. He's just a kid.
He is. When we come back, we'll be joined by Hal Gill, Preds radio analyst, former Nashville Predators defenseman. We'll get his thoughts on a brutal loss last night for the Nashville Predators. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Care has the power to bring kindness where it's needed. It brings out the best in every one of us. It doesn't just see people. It takes time to understand them. It puts the needs of others ahead of its own. And when you start with care, you end up with a very different kind of bank. Truist. Truist Bank, member FDIC.
Hey,
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and when I'm out with my friends, my go-to is Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It can be served as a drink or a shot, and it's always a hit with the crew. Screwball is the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world, made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter. You can learn more about them by visiting screwballwhiskey.com, and do like me when you're out and about, ask for it by name at your favorite bar. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Do you want the best for your car? Then fill up with premium at Circle K. Circle K Premium is our best fuel with double the cleaning detergent, protecting your engine from corrosion and damage so it can work at its best. And that, my friend, increases your mileage for more cha-ching in your pocket. Plus, when you fill up with premium at Circle K, you can save up to 20 cents per gallon. Offer valid Thursdays or Fridays at participating stores. For details, visit CircleK.com. Circle K. How convenient.
Saturday, it's a battle in the Big 12. As Texas takes on Kansas.
Got a piece of the three, but McCormick is there to clean it up.
Coverage begins at 2:30
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Little Guys Movers. Here's your chance to be your own boss. Join their team of 30-plus years of profits and good times. Visit littleguysfranchise.com. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. It was a rough night last night for the Nashville Predators. And to help us talk about it, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Hal Gill, Preds radio analyst, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts, featuring their newest next-gen location at 500 Cool Springs Boulevard. Skillsy, what's going on? How are we doing?
Just settled up here in San Jose, waiting for the next game and hopefully a better result than the one last night. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it was a tough one. And Skillsy, I thought really from the start, I mean, the third period kind of speaks for itself with, basically getting pushed around and, not executing with the puck and the shorthanded goal you given up. But I thought really from the jump in that game, they looked a little bit off execution wise. What were your thoughts on the game, and why do you think that was the case last night for the Predators?
I do agree with you. I'll also add that I gotta tip my hat to Seattle. They played as good a game as I've seen them play. They were fast. They were really tough through the neutral zone. The Preds tried to make too many cute plays, but they were kind of forced into a lot of bad turnovers because Seattle was so good through the neutral zone. So I really, it was just so tough for the Preds to get into their rhythm. I thought they had some success when they got on their forecheck. That's how they scored their first goal. Tomasino's goal was set up by just getting a puck in deep and working that forecheck. And I thought they had some success when they could get it through. It just wasn't often enough. And and Seattle was hardworking and really just I think in the end they were down, and I thought the Preds said, hey, we're gonna just roll over these guys, and that pushback, that 3-goal burst that they had, really just powered them through the rest of the game, and they just outworked them. They sensed that this is their chance to finally get a win, and they weren't letting it go.
Yeah, you were talking on the broadcast about sort of, you maybe have the mindset of, hey, let's go in there and blast this team, but you got to work to get there. You got to be methodical. You got to be careful. And they did that, and they get the lead, and then they open it up. And at that point, like, to me, it just almost felt like, okay, now you got the separation. All right, here we go, cruise to the finish, and then boom, 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 and then the game completely changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a like, I know everyone looks at, all right, you're a professional athlete. You should know how to handle yourself. You should know how to play, more like a robot. But there's a human emotion where you say, okay, we got to play this way. You try to play that way. And like you said, you get the lead, and you say, it's just human nature to say, all right, and we got this game now. Now we just have to finish it off. And it's also human nature for Seattle to say, oh my God, we're going to get embarrassed in front of our home crowd again. Like, this is not, they've had such a hard season. I think that was just like a blast that said, hey guys, we just got to try to fight for each other. And they did. And I give them credit. That 3-goal burst put them right back in the game, and they rode it all the way out. So, there's no excuse. I'm not giving the Preds any excuses, and they know that's not their game, and they need to be better than that. But it is a human game, and you have to deal with those emotional ups and downs.
What do you think, Hal, of just the spot that the Predators are now in? They've lost 6 of their past 8. I mean, I think they've played well in some of these games that they've lost for sure, but the results are what they are at this point. They've lost 6 of their last 8, and the cushion that was there against teams like Dallas is now gone in the standings. What do you make of kind of the spot that they're in and the rut that they've been in from a results standpoint after the All-Star break?
Well, it's tough because you can look at it and say, hey, we played some pretty good teams, Carolina, Florida, Tampa. It's been a battle all the way through. But you also have to be pretty honest with yourself that, if you're going to give yourself grace when you lose to a pretty good team, you also have to say, all right, if that's going to happen, you better win when you're playing a team below you. So, it is what it is. Results are what they are, and in the end, you need wins. If you want to make the playoffs, you need wins. You don't need good games and good efforts. And hey, we almost had them. So, I think there has to be a sense of urgency right now. I don't think it's a panic, but certainly an urgency that, hey, guys, we were a good team, and we were doing what? What was it that we were doing? What was our identity, and can we get back to that? Because ultimately, I think they're winning because they're setting up their forecheck. They've had the beast line going out and jumping over the boards and putting fear into other teams, and then you got timely scoring from your good players, from your elite players. And so you have to get back to that. You just can't hope that things are going to happen because you're a good team now. You need to make them happen. And so, I think John Hines senses that too. He's got a pretty good pulse on this team. And I think the urgency is going to go up. And I think it's going to, my guess is it's going to happen in a shift in ice time. I think there's going to be certain guys that are going to play more. And not necessarily because you're just scoring goals, but because you're playing the right way. I think that has to be an emphasis coming up in the next game here in San Jose.
Now, one play I wanted to ask you about in particular, the Colin Blackwell shorthanded goal. Is that, as a defenseman, is that as simple as Roman Josi should just gone to the body rather than try to go for the puck there?
There's there's so many problems that I have with that. First of all, I was a penalty killer, so I appreciate when someone on the penalty kill goes and outworks a power play. And there's nothing that guts you more as a player when you're watching your power play get outworked. And that was just a penalty kill. You know, Yanni Gord goes in and just takes the puck from Forsberg and goes around the net, and no one got back in time to cover Colin Blackwell, and he gets a pass out in front. He gets 1, 2, 3 chances, and then Roman Yossi is coming in. It's like that can't happen. You know, I know you got 5 guys on the ice compared to 4, but that doesn't mean you can just hang out and expect that they're going to stop. And I'll give Blackwell credit and Yanni Gord, like they had going for it. You know, there's no fear in their game. They're going to go and try to get the puck, and they just outworked them. And so, yes, Roman Yossi certainly should come back and take him out of the play. And yes, Forsberg certainly shouldn't turn the puck over behind the net. But it's all 5 guys on the ice. Everyone should have been aware of what's going on and get back. Take care of your defensive end first, because that's, you know, in my mind, that's just embarrassing when a penalty kill gets a goal like that where just no one's around.
Yeah, no question about it. Hal Gill on the line with us here, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts, featuring their newest next-gen location at 500 Cool Springs Boulevard. So Hal, we saw John Hines at the beginning of the game last night kind of tinker with the lines a little bit, move Jeannot up there with Johansson, and he moved the lines around again as the game went on. I'm curious from your perspective, it seems pretty obvious right now that they are searching for a combination to play with Johansson that works. I think they feel good about the way that he's played for the most part, but they've been rotating his wingers left and right. How difficult is that to nail down if you're John Hines with 2 other lines in Sissons and Granlund going as well as they are? And, you know, what do you think the Predators can do to find somebody that can click up there with Johansson? Could that maybe something that you may have to target at the deadline if you're David Poile?
Yeah, no, it's certainly something to consider. I think I was real impressed with that McCarron line was with Tolvanen and Tomasino. They got the 1 goal. I thought they had some good, got on the forecheck, played hard. They had some good chances, good looks. So I was impressed with that line. And so that's why I think Tomasino and Tolvanen got the call up at the end of the game to play with Johansson. But I think if you look at how things are going, you have the beast line with Jeannot, Sissons, and Trennan that really identifies your team. That's your identity line. They go out there, they play on the forecheck, they do things right. You don't want to break that up. And then you have Granlund playing with Forsberg and Duchesne in the year that those guys are having, this offensive powerhouse. They're finally that first line that we've been looking for. So you don't want to break them up. And then you have Johansson, and they tried Tolvanen, they tried Tomasino. Cunnin seems to stick there. Cousins has been really effective on that line at times. So there's so many different ways you do it. And so you say, okay, maybe if you bring up Luff can fill in and be that guy that keeps that beast line going, while Tanner Jeannot, who's having a great year, goes up and makes some more room for Johansson and gets on the forecheck and then also can put the puck in the net. And so I think it was time for Hines to try to tinker with it, but I really don't think he likes tinkering with it. I think he likes the beast line. I think he likes that first line with Granlund, Duchesne, and Forsberg, and he wants to stay with that. It's just how do all the other pieces go together, and you don't want to mess with what's good in order to fix what's not going well. So I think there's more tinkering going on there, and if there's a deadline move that, you know, I'm not saying it needs to be a big player that goes on that second line, but there's certainly something to consider when you're looking at how that 4-line system plays out, because you know, it's kind of a tough one when you have a game that you think you're going to whoop a team and your 4th line goes out and really is the most effective line, then you start to reconsider things.
Yeah, no question about it. Hal Gill, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Hal, tell us about your friends at Dunkin'.
Yeah, well, you told everyone about our new location here at 1645 West Main Street in Lebanon. That'll be a March 11th grand reopening, so check that out. That should be fun. We'll do a little party there and have some fun with it. But there's new spring items that are coming out. The new salted caramel cream cold brew, shamrock macchiato with Irish cream swirl. St. Patrick's Day is coming around the corner, so that might be nice. A roasted tomato toast. You can get that with hummus or with avocado. And a lot of other delicious items as well. Try the chocolate croissants. There's something for everyone there. I love my egg sandwiches there. I get a sausage, egg, and cheese. Try it with a cinnamon raisin bagel. It's delicious. And, of course, the best coffee. So go out there. My favorite coffee. Go treat yourself to one and go get your dunks.
Hal Gill, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Hal, appreciate you, brother. Have fun out in San Jose.
All right. I'll try to keep myself busy, guys. Thanks.
I'm sure you will. Hal Gill joins us every Thursday morning at 9:30. We'll come back. We'll react to what Hal had to say there. Get your thoughts on the Predators. I thought, honestly, a horrible performance last night from the Predators. We'll get your thoughts on that on the other side. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Lots of sunshine in store for us today. Temperatures heading back to the middle 70s this afternoon, and we stay in that territory for the rest of the work week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, welcomes you with a special offer on college basketball. Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team hits a three-pointer in that game, you'll win $200 in free bets. Use the bonus code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet. Plus, you'll earn BetMGM rewards points that can be redeemed for online bonuses or converted into comps for rooms, restaurants, and more at over 20 MGM resorts nationwide. Just download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 in free bets if a three-pointer is made in the game you wager on. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine, and general orthopedics. They accept walk-in and same-day appointments. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com or just walk in to Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
With thousands of dollars in new tax credits this year, Jackson Hewitt understands there's a lot at stake this tax season. We have 102 reasons to switch to a Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro, like giving you $100 just to switch. So that's 100. Then we'll track down every last tax credit so you get every dollar you deserve. That's 101. Finally, we guarantee you'll get your biggest refund. That's 102. Want to discover 103? Book an appointment at a participating location near you. Offer ends March 6th. Available at participating retail locations for new clients only. Mention this ad when filing. Terms apply. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for details.
A show that doesn't pull any punches.
And they win a playoff game and they get to the divisional round and he doesn't give up a sack the rest of the year. I don't give two poops. I'm done.
And has an opinion on everything.
That ref crew that was just terrible. Threw flags on almost every possession.
Jared Stillman hosts Stillman and Company.
Tough guy. He's a really tough guy.
Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6. Delivered by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Coach, good evening. What sticks out to you about this one here tonight?
Well, I think the attention to detail that we played with, it was really two areas. When I thought our execution with the puck wasn't as good as it needed to be throughout the game, and then without the puck, our attention to detail defensively was not at the level it needed to be tonight.
That was John Hines after the game last night. A tough loss for the Nashville Predators, 4-3 at the hands of the Seattle Kraken. Speaking of the Predators, the Preds Foundation Wine Festival and Tasting presented by Deacons New South returns to the Bridgestone Arena Friday, March the 11th. You can sample over 225 high-end wines, enjoy delicious culinary creations from local restaurants, and bid in an extensive silent auction as well. Tickets start at $89. Visit NashvillePredators.com/wine for more information. Joe, the Predators, obviously, this year, they've had some games that haven't gone their way. They've had some games where, they've played hard and the result just hasn't been there and they've just gotten beaten. They've had some games this year where they played really well and they won and they're in a playoff spot. I thought last night may have been their worst performance of the season. And there are a couple other games that you can throw in there. But just given the stakes now of the calendar flipping to March, you're coming off this big week last week where you get 4 out of 6 points. You're feeling pretty good about your game heading into this week. It's a team in the standings that is not good. I mean, Seattle's not a good team, and they lost 7 games in a row heading into that game before that. I thought really from the jump last night, the puck execution part of it looked off. Seattle did a good job on the forecheck. They were making, the Predators try some big stretch passes that weren't going well, and they probably iced the puck 4 or 5 times the first 10 minutes of the game. So there's a lot of stuff that was sloppy from the jump last night. That the second period stretch where you give up 3 goals in 2 minutes and 29 seconds or whatever it was, and then the play in the third period, I thought was embarrassing for the Predators. I really did. That was a really bad loss last night. I thought the way that they approached the game coming down the stretch was really disappointing. I think John Hines hit the nail on the head. The attention to detail wasn't there. And quite honestly, I thought they just got straight up punked on their own power play in the third period last night. Forsberg turns the puck over behind the net. Johansson's kind of swinging back around and he starts going off to the offensive zone. Forsberg swings around the net and instead of going after Blackwell, just kind of drifts away. And then Yossi gets there late. And when he gets there, he doesn't take the body and tries to, swat after the puck. It was just a comedy of errors last night on that shorthanded goal. And that's a loss where you start to look at the standings. Like, you can't afford to be losing games to teams like the Seattle Kraken. I'm sorry. You can't do that. I thought that was the worst loss of the season last night by the Predators.
Yeah, and amazing to lose to that team twice. It's a bad team. It's an expansion team. It looks exactly like an expansion team. And until the Preds got the 2-0 lead, it looked like a team incapable of generating anything. And then all of a sudden you get up 2-0 and you basically take a 2.5 minute mental vacation and you're trailing. And, but the thing is, you have that flurry. Duchesne gets a second goal on kind of a lucky play. Tolvanen kind of whiffed, but the puck snuck through. Duchesne's like, thank you very much. I'll take that one. Fine, though. 3-3, then you get on the power play. And then, as you just laid out there, you give that up. I think the really discouraging, maybe beyond just the mistakes, I mean, how much of a threat did they mount after that? Like, you figure then it's like, okay, well, now here's the pushback. Yeah. Impose yourself. You were trailing in the third period against a bad team. And they couldn't generate much at all until, the very end. That's, I think that's discouraging.
No, it was. They got totally rolled over last night in the third period. And, they were talking on the TNT broadcast about how the Predators were out of gas and didn't look like they had any legs. And I was like, well, I don't know why that would be the case. I mean, they've not really played that much hockey over the course of the last couple of weeks. I know that last week was super emotional and there's a lot of things going on. And I get all that. He hadn't played since Saturday. It's Wednesday. Like, your legs should not be a problem at that point. So I don't know what it was last night in the third period, but they couldn't get the puck. Like, Seattle had the puck the whole period last night in the third period and was just pushing. And look, I agree with Hal. Like, I think a lot of times when we do this, we just totally absolve the other team from any credit whatsoever. I thought they played well. I thought their forecheck was strong from the beginning of that game, and it gave the Predators a lot of problems. But that's a team the Predators should be able to handle. Like, I don't have much time for the getting rolled over by the Seattle Kraken last night.
Yeah, look, it's pro sports, so there's a certain level of quality with whoever you play, but you can't lose that game. You got Dallas now, point back with a game in hand. I mean, that's changed dramatically. And you look at the other division, as you said earlier in the show, Robbie. I mean, it's a much weaker division, and there's a lot of teams that, like, they have the potential to finish ahead of you if you don't get your stuff together. And if you don't take the gimmies, because there aren't a ton left on the schedule.
No, I mean, I think everybody understands when you lose the game to Tampa Bay. You're like, okay, yeah, it's Tampa Bay. I get it. I mean, you're going to have bad losses throughout the year. And this is not the last team that Seattle is going to beat that's in the thick of a playoff race as the season goes out here. I understand that. But you got to take advantage of these points. And I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity. And big picture, I mean, you've now come out of the All-Star break and you've lost 6 out of 8 games. And I don't think it's been the same story in all of them. I think the penalties were a direct cause of a couple of them. I actually thought in the Washington game, they played pretty darn well and just lost the game. You know, there have been different stories that go along with it. But the fact of the matter remains is you've lost 6 out of 8 games coming out of the All-Star break and have totally destroyed the cushion that you had. I mean, I read off the stats earlier. You know, a few weeks ago, they had a 95% chance to make the playoffs, according to moneypuck.com. And that's down to like 47.3 right now. It's, you know, that's a significant jump in not a very long stretch of time. And part of that's with the way you're playing. And part of that is, you know, unfortunately for you, teams like Dallas have gotten on a hot streak right here and they continue to get points. So they're in a tough spot right now. Like, to me, you have to win on Saturday night against San Jose. And then you set yourself up for what's going to be just a massive week next week with Dallas and Anaheim and St. Louis and Minnesota all on the schedule.
No doubt. Did you catch the Poyle-Forsberg discussion on the TNT panel there?
I did. I loved how
Gretzky, Mr. Poyle is smarter than me.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one, but it was interesting to me that Anson Carter and Tocchet were both like, 8 million, 64 million total for Forsberg. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. And I was like, well, 8 million is probably not going to be what he gets. It's probably going to be higher than that. So it's interesting how different people view that contract so differently. And I got in an argument last night with Alex Doherty from A to Z Sports, who thinks he can get $10 million on the open market, which I think is just absurd. But the way that people view this dollar amount with Forsberg is very interesting to me.
Does he thinks he can get 10, like someone to give him 7, 10 over 7? Wow. Yeah. I'd be surprised by that. Also, Liam McHugh has furthered this is the legend of David Poyle to Jared Stillman, by the way. Did you see this?
Oh, I saw that.
I tweeted this. Like, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah.
Shut up. Like, isn't exactly what Poyle said? But hey, just go with it. Why not? It's national TV. Whatever.
We think that shows up on Jared's show today. Liam McHugh just kind of vaguely referencing his show.
I think there's a good chance. I think we've also, by the way, we've totally like this is an example of a show that we talk too much about him, and so now he's gonna hold that against us.
It's not been 60% though, so that's good.
Well, right, but I mean, it's been like 18%, which to him is 97%.
Kind of like the Bills fans. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Darren Donick and Chase up next. This is ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Did you see the Tennessee Titans? He has all the weapons to make it happen.
There's so much to pay attention to. Greeny from 9 to 11.
Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected player.
Art and Han from 11 to 2.
You never stop punching. They've got to learn how to close the deal.
And the Paul Feinbaum Show afternoons from 2 to 6.
Are these legitimate contenders to the party?
Your exclusive home for ESPN Radio in the Music City.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
At Cordell & Cordell, we focus on representing men in domestic relations cases.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
We recognize that our clients are going through perhaps the toughest time they will ever go through. We understand that everything that's important to them is on the table. Their assets, the role in their children's lives. That's an immense responsibility that our clients entrust us with, and we take that very seriously. We've been trained to do that. We've helped thousands of clients before. And it's our hope that you'll choose to entrust us with what's most important to you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
If you're looking for inspiration and impact this International Women's Day, don't miss the annual Women's Leadership Summit on Tuesday afternoon, March 8th at Ozari Event Center in West Nashville. You'll learn from, connect with, and grow among powerhouse women from diverse fields while building a solid future for girls in our community. The Women's Leadership Summit is powered by Nashville nonprofit Play Like a Girl and includes panel discussions, informal mentoring moments, a very special executive auction, and cocktails. Visit iplaylikeagirl.org or call 615-601-1864.
E2 Roofing, Nashville's veteran-owned roofing company with integrity, along with 1025 The Game, recognize our veterans, active military, and first responders with the playing of our national anthem.
Marin Morris!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is ESPN